Chapter 1. Aren't you ready to get up yet? Don't forget, the holiday is over. Today is the day of homecoming. Peter yawned. His head was dizzy. It must be because of drinking too much on the last day of the holiday. He reached for the head of the bed and lazily grabbed his glasses. His vision became clear from blurry. The warm yellow sunlight shone through the window, hitting the face full of youth. The sunlight made the girl's golden shoulder-length hair in front of him more dazzling. Although it has been more than 10 years since I came to this world, but every time I wake up from my sleep, I still feel unreal. I never thought that I would travel through time and become Peter Parker. I never thought that I would not be bitten by a spider when I went to Osborn Company. Although there is nothing good about being Spider-Man. Compared to gaining super strength and having the ability to launch cobwebs, it is better for the family to live together without illness and disaster. After all, tragedy is the fate of Spider-Man. If Uncle Ben really died, Aunt May, whose hair has turned gray, would be so sad every day. Peter Parker felt lucky that he didn't become Spider-Man. After all, with his grades, he could get into a pretty good university. He could get a good job after graduation, but he found something quite sad. The Spider-Man in this world was actually his neighbor Gwen. Wouldn't that mean he became the object of sacrifice by the world? Almost everyone knows that Spider-Man is a tragic superhero. Whether it's a family member or a friend, one of them has to be sacrificed. And for Gwen Spider-Woman, she is the object of sacrifice. He even saw himself lying in Gwen's arms in his mind. He said with his last breath, "Remember, the greater the ability, the greater the responsibility." It's really devastating to think about it. Peter originally wanted to escape, but it seemed that it would be useless even if he escaped to the ends of the earth. Stan Lee's power of law, the person closest to Spider-Man, can't avoid a tragic end. Unless there is a more powerful power of law. Peter Parker doesn't have much hope for this. I have been in this world for more than 10 years. If there really is a Goldfinger, it would not have been delayed until now. Looking at the blonde girl in front of him, and thinking of the black and white figure wearing a white hood that appeared in the Daily Bugle a few days ago, Peter Parker's last hope also disappeared. Originally, he hoped that the Spider-Man in this world would be the little black Spider Miles. "Aren't you getting up yet? I remember you used to be very diligent." Gwen leaned on Peter's desk, and it seemed like this was her room. "I used to be diligent because I thought I would not be sacrificed." There is no need to let someone who is about to say that the greater the ability, the greater the responsibility, work hard. This inevitable fate is simply an NPC that increases Spider-Man's motivation. "Gwen, how did you get into my room?" "Advertisement. I asked her to come in." Aunt May's kind and gentle voice came from the door, and she held a cup of hot milk in her hand. It was obviously prepared for Peter. Uncle Ben and Aunt May really want Peter to be their own child. Even if the family conditions are not good, no matter what good things there are, they will let Peter enjoy them. Although the family lives in poverty, they can be called happy. Because Peter's grades in all subjects are always A, Uncle Ben often mentions it when he gets together with colleagues and friends. Peter changed his clothes and went downstairs. Aunt May had already prepared breakfast. The morning news was playing on TV. The female host with fair skin read the speech expressionlessly. "The latest news from our station, Stark Industries and Wayne Group have started a new cooperation." The two met in Gotham City. The cooperation between the two large companies will bring new employment opportunities to the local area. Peter took a sip of milk. This kind of news is no longer surprising. Wayne Group, Stark Industries. One is the leading enterprise in Gotham, and the other is a supertech arms company. Two companies in different dimensions have started cooperation. What kind of world is this? Although I have long accepted this fact, but Peter still couldn't help complaining. Uncle Ben's broad palm pressed on his shoulder. "Peter, Gwen was afraid that you would be late, so she came to wake you up early on the first day of your 12th grade. You are no longer a little boy, and you should show your gentlemanly side." Equivalent to the 3rd year of high school, Gwen, with her blonde hair and beautiful face, had a faint smile on her lips. Uncle Ben's words made her feel very happy. She really wanted to hear Peter's praise. Peter ate a mouthful of white rice with despair. He said sadly, "Actually, I set the alarm last night." Aunt May handed Gwen a cup of hot milk. She liked this girl next door very much. Uncle Ben and Gwen's father, George Stacy, knew each other a long time ago. Later, because of a coincidence, the two became friends. After being neighbors for more than 20 years, George went from a high-level detective to the current director of the New York Police Department. The relationship between the two families has always been friendly. Almost every 2 weeks, they would visit each other's homes. Gwen was also watched by Uncle Ben and Aunt May. Similarly, George also valued Peter very much, even intends to let Peter go to the police academy. But Peter has no such ambition. No matter which world you are in, being a policeman is a high-risk profession. Not to mention being a high-level hero, evil villains are everywhere. What about the DC Marvel Integrate world? Chapter 2. After breakfast, Peter was about to leave, but Uncle Ben stopped him and stuffed him with $10. Men should not be too stingy. Sometimes they should show generosity in front of girls. He winked at him. This made Peter a little overwhelmed. We are just classmates. As one of the largest cities in the world, New York has surprisingly high salaries, but that is only for the elite. It is not easy for Uncle Ben to make money to support his family. Take it, Peter. Ben Parker has always been very satisfied with his nephew. Not only does he have excellent grades in various subjects at school, he also works part-time in restaurants or delivers takeout. While he was pleased, he also felt very guilty towards Peter. Peter, are you not ready yet? Gwen's voice sounded outside the door. Here we are. Peter nodded to Uncle Ben and turned to leave the house. George had been waiting on the street outside for a long time. He quickly put out the cigarette in his hand when he saw the two of them come out. This made Gwen roll her eyes at him. She had said it many times that smoking is harmful to health. However, in front of Peter, she chose to save face for her father. Get in the car, two energetic young people. Because the two families are close. It's not the first time to take a car to school. Peter sat in the co-pilot seat skillfully. George looked at Peter beside him with admiration. There is no harm without comparison. Because of his status, he has seen too many young people who have gone astray. He embarked on the road of breaking the law and committing crimes at a young age. Look at Peter again. He has excellent grades, is loved by teachers in school, and is particularly polite. Gwen and him became good friends, which made George feel relieved. He even felt that they could have further development. After all, they know each other well. If Gwen brought back a young man with colorful hair one day, it would be a headache. And Peter also took good care of Gwen. Peter, how was your visit to Osborne last time? Norman Osborn also spoke very well of you. Peter nodded. This is the benefit of reading a lot. Even when facing the boss of a listed company, you can talk freely. Last week, when he went to Osborne, he thought he would be bitten by a spider. He was ready to be Spider-Man. But, not to mention spiders, he didn't even see a spider hair. Although it was not in line with expectations, it made Peter feel relieved. He couldn't be Spider-Man. At least Uncle Ben wouldn't have to die. With his grades, he was enough to get into a pretty good university. He also had the confidence to become an elite on Wall Street. But he never thought that the person who became Spider-Man in this world would be Gwen. When Peter thought that he would be sacrificed by law, he was very depressed. Soon, the three of them arrived at Midtown Science and Technology High School. Peter and Gwen got out of the car, said goodbye to George, and walked into the campus together. 18 years old is already the time for female development. Gwen, with her short blonde hair, became the focus of many eyes as soon as she appeared. There were many people pursuing her just now, but she rejected them all mercilessly. As for those shameless guys, George would naturally conduct friendly negotiations with them, and Peter seemed to have no sense of existence. His body was thin and weak, comparable to Captain America before strengthening. Peter had thought about improving his physical fitness through fitness, but it was useless. Advertisement Gwen was in a very good mood at the moment. Going to school was no pressure for her. But what made her even happier was that she had super strength. Last week, when she was interning at Osborne, she was bitten by a spider for no reason. After returning home, her head was dizzy. After awakening came, she could see things more clearly. She could hear sounds more clearly. And she also gained strong power. She couldn't open the tightly sealed can of pickled cucumbers with her bare hands before. Although she felt panic at first, compared with the joy and excitement, negative emotions were nothing. When wandering in the city at night, I casually shot a few robbers, but I didn't expect it to be on the news. Fortunately, I disguised myself, otherwise my old father would be scared to death. Gwen wanted to tell Peter the news, but she was afraid that he would think she was a monster. If that was the case, she would rather not have this super ability. At this moment, a strong sense of stimulation made her spirit tremble, and even her hair stood up. Get out of the way, Peter. Spider telepathy has never been wrong. This means there is a considerable danger. Sure enough, a sharp laugh sounded. Then there was the obvious sound of the propeller turning. Looking up, a guy wearing a green devil mask and stepping on a suspended flight appeared. Without saying a word, 2 orange pumpkin bombs were thrown down directly. Fortunately, it was far away from Peter. But the students who were close to it suffered directly. Affected by the bomb, the flesh and blood disappeared instantly, and even the bones turned into powder. The entire Midtown Science and Technology High School was in chaos instantly. Gwen quickly pulled Peter to hide. She wanted to find a place to change clothes. But Green Goblin came and went quickly. Peter was stunned, not because he was scared, but because 2 lines of text appeared in front of him. Chapter 3. On the top floor of the Osborne building, Norman Osborn, with a tired face, looked at the face reflected in the broken mirror. Guilt and anger appeared on his face at the same time. Green Goblin's flight machine. The face is huge, and the clothes are scattered on the ground. The sweat on his forehead wet his bangs. What did I do? Don't try to control me again. He beat himself in the mirror frantically, and he didn't care even if his fist was scratched by glass fragments. As a listed company, a big boss with a net worth of over 100 million, Osborn should have been in glory, but his family's genetic disease has always troubled him. Both his father and grandfather died young. There is no cure, and getting this disease is almost a sign of death. Osborn is now middle-aged and his body is getting weaker and weaker. Many years ago, he created a scientific research team in an attempt to extend his life through genetic modification technology. After years of research, there has been progress but not much. Don't put all your eggs in the same basket. While carrying out genetic engineering, Osborn also conducted other scientific research experiments. The armor he wore when bombing Midtown Science and Technology High School just now was the product of the experiment. The armor was originally designed to maintain life and slow down the speed of death. But to his surprise, the armor could also give him powerful strength, but unfortunately it couldn't save his life. Until a few days ago, he saw the deeds of Spider-Woman on TV and immediately thought of the spider genetic engineering developed by his company. Once, due to the mistakes of the staff, several genetically modified spiders disappeared. It is very likely that these genetically modified spiders made Spider-Woman. At the moment, Osborn was almost dying. He looked no different from ordinary people, but in fact he was at risk of death at any time. In this situation, Osborn forcibly injected spider serum. The immature serum was injected into his body, giving him powerful strength, comparable to the power of a superhero. His life was also maintained, but it was still losing energy. What was even more unexpected was that while the serum gave him super strength, it also gave birth to another personality. Evil Osborn, that is, Green Goblin. You lunatic. You attacked the students. Osborn in front of the mirror was on the verge of collapse, his body shaking uncontrollably. It was us. We killed those students. Osborn in the mirror had a ferocious expression. All employees of Osborn have been screened, and no one meets the characteristics of Spider-Woman. Then who else often comes to the company? That's right, those students. Every day, a large number of students come to Osborn to study, and almost all high schools in New York have cooperation with the company. We will blow them up one by one, and one day we will be able to blow her out. The Green Goblin in the mirror seemed to have the ability to bewitch. Osborn's eyes were dull, and the goodness and evil in his heart were pulling each other. What are you still hesitating about? Only by getting the blood of Spider-Woman can we completely recover our health. Even if you don't consider yourself or us, don't you care about it, Harry? Osborn's nerves seemed to be touched. Muttering to himself, Harry, my son. Advertisement, no. I can't watch him suffer from this damn disease. Osborn's expression gradually became ferocious, slowly overlapping with the Green Goblin in the mirror. Midtown Science and Technology High School. Peter, you look a little strange. Are you scared by the Green Goblin? In the cafeteria at noon, Gwen looked at Peter with a worried look. She was indeed scared. But she was not scared by the Green Goblin. She was scared by the 2 options in front of her. Become a superhero, or become a villain superhero. Don't worry, Gwen. I'm fine. No more. I'm going to sleep for a while. Don't worry about me. Peter left the cafeteria and found a safe classroom. The 18th year since he came to this world. Finally, there is a plug-in. Crime punishment system. You can get points by punishing sinners, and points can be exchanged for rewards. As long as the host determines that a person is a criminal, he will be branded as a criminal. But before that, you have to choose your career path. Superhero villain, superhero Peter, subconsciously wanted to choose superhero. His hand stopped when he was confirming. Looking back on Spider-Man's life, he is a veritable superhero. Wandering between the high-rise buildings in the city, he spared no effort to fight crime. But what did he get in the end? The death of relatives, the sadness of lovers, and no achievements in career. He relied on selfies to make a living, and the hospitalization fees for Aunt May's illness gave him a headache. Different versions of Spider-Man have their sufferings. The people who were led by Mysterio's lie turned their praise for him into accusations in an instant. Good people have to be pointed at with guns? Is such a superhero really worth pursuing? Why do you have to do such a thankless thing? In comparison, the villain superhero is a better choice. When I am in a good mood, I save a few people. When I am in a bad mood, what does the life and death of others have to do with me? As long as I have no morals, others can't kidnap me. I remember my father always told me in my previous life that I should be a person of high moral character. But Peter never listened to his father. So, I choose the villain superhero. Chapter 4. You choose the villain superhero route. Unlock the Yin Shuangying template. Get ability. Strong physique. Get ability. The opponent's chattering. When the enemy is in an advantageous position, he will not choose to attack you at the first time, and will always start an unnecessary speech. Get props. 2 pistols. Get ability. Mind bullets. How many bullets your pistol can fire depends on how many guns you want to fire. Get ability. Bulletproof head. When the enemy points a gun at your head, there will be no bullets in the opponent's gun. Passive. Get ability. Flash. When you roll, you have an invincible frame. Even if you face 10 machine guns, you will not be hit. Note, rolling infinite CD. Get props. $1. Get ability. Forced interruption. When you propose to gamble with $1, the opponent will immediately stop the action in his hand and gamble with you. Ability obtained. Silence. When you say, I bet your gun has no bullets, the other party's fire-type thermal weapons will be immediately ineffective. Upgradable. Ability obtained. Cold attraction. Inexplicable attraction to women. Passive. Upgradable. Item obtained. Cigarettes. Refreshing. Lung cancer resistance increases by 1 for each cigarette smoked. Unlimited tobacco. This item is an additional bonus item. Unlock store purchase rights. Spider telepathy is priced at 20,000 points. Unlimited Desert Eagle is priced at 5,000 points. Homelander template, priced at 200,000 points, temporarily unavailable. The above products, first order is priced at 10% off. Note 1. After choosing this route, you must often vent your suppressed anger to stabilize your emotions. Note 2. The system only gives you a choice. It is up to you to decide what kind of person you want to be. Because of the commotion caused by Green Goblin, the first day of homecoming at Midtown Science and Technology High School was dismissed early. Peter returned home with a groggy mind. A strong sense of fatigue enveloped his whole body. As soon as he entered the house, Aunt May gave him a big hug. Oh my God. Thank God. You are okay. I heard about what happened in the school. I can't believe how someone could be so bad. Aunt May's face was full of worry and fear. Uncle Ben heard the news and returned home from work. Peter, your Aunt May is really scared. Has the school taken any measures? Such a guy appeared in the city, which is really panic. I'm fine, don't worry. Peter replied with a dazed mind. Since choosing the route of villain superhero, for several hours, he has been drowsy. It's like he participated in a sports meeting and then stayed in an internet cafe for 2 consecutive days. It seems that there is a possibility of sudden death at any time. Now he just wants to fall on the bed and take a nap. Uncle Ben, Aunt May, I'm fine. I just want to have a good sleep now. After saying that, he turned and walked upstairs. Poor Peter, he must be scared. Advertisement. Aunt May looked at his back worriedly. I have to make him something delicious tonight. Uncle Ben nodded. I'll go buy meat. For their family, meat is not a luxury, but they don't eat it often. After all, it's quite appropriate to describe the Parker family's financial situation as stretched to the limit. Peter's grades are excellent, and a lot of tuition is exempted, but the remaining part also makes the family quite stressed. Aunt May works as a family legal consultant. At her age, it is quite rare in this industry, but she can also share the pressure on Ben Parker. Peter didn't know how long he slept. When he woke up again, it was dark. He stretched and subconsciously picked up the glasses on the bedside table and put them on. As a result, his eyes were blurred. But the moment he took off his glasses, his vision became clear again. His myopia is cured? Peter jumped out of bed excitedly, looking at himself in the mirror. The originally thin body is completely a thing of the past, replaced by strong and tight muscles. Every time he throws a punch, he can feel the surge of power. Even his height has increased a lot. It's a pity that he doesn't have a super body now, but in a sense, the abilities he has obtained are quite amazing. Peter, are you still sleeping? Aunt May's voice came from outside the door. Without waiting for Peter to respond, Aunt May walked in. The moment she saw Peter, her eyes suddenly lit up and she was shocked beyond words. "Oh my God, Peter, when did you become so strong?" "I have been exercising during the entire holiday." He made up a lie. "Come downstairs and have dinner. You don't know how long you have slept, a whole day and night, and you can't wake up even if you call. George called a doctor, and the doctor said you were just too tired. We are relieved now." Peter scratched his head, feeling guilty for worrying his family. Aunt May cooked lamb on the table. Peter didn't like it very much, but compared to the whole of America, there was still a lot of uncastrated pork on the wall. Peter keenly noticed the frustration in Aunt May's expression. "Aunt May, don't worry. I was just tired when I was exercising. Don't worry about me." Uncle Ben smiled. "Your Aunt May was insulted by a client. A person who was seeking family law advice on the internet saw her face through a video link and found that your Aunt May was much older than he expected, and then verbally insulted her. But there is nothing we can do about it," Uncle Ben said, holding Aunt May's hand. He comforted her softly. "Don't be sad. Everyone will get old one day. There is no need to be angry at scum." At this moment, Uncle Ben suddenly noticed Peter's changes and was immediately shocked. The veins on Peter's head bulged, which were particularly obvious, and his eyes were slightly red. His expression was abnormally gloomy. "Peter, what's wrong with you?" Chapter 5. Peter was stunned for a moment, then returned to normal. "It's okay, Aunt May. You don't have to care about what those online keyboard warriors say." At that moment, he felt extremely angry and had the urge to destroy everything. "I'm fine, Peter, let's eat." The family's dinner ended with a casual chat. Generally speaking, whether it is after lunch or dinner, the blood sugar in the body will rise, which will make people feel sleepy. But at this moment, Peter still felt energetic, and at the same time, a sense of anger was nestled in his heart. Those who insult Aunt May must be punished. He couldn't sleep unless this matter was resolved. Peter immediately turned on his mobile phone and locked the location of the keyboard warrior through certain technical means. The information came from the New York City Police Department. Normally, this is a research done by Spiderman after he became an adult, successfully hacked into the New York Police Department system. The purpose is to understand the location of the criminal as soon as possible. But Peter Parker had done this 2 years ago. Aunt May's work as a family legal consultant only includes queens, so it is not difficult to find this keyboard warrior. "Let me see where you are. You poor B*************** D with a foul mouth." "Found it. 5037 Whitethorn Road. 5037 Whitethorn Road. Dog food." A man roared at the content on the computer screen. "A streetwalker is asking $50, and there is no overnight service. Why don't you go and rob her?" The man looked quite sloppy, and there were empty pizza boxes all around him. People on the street called him Skinny Dog. He came to New York 2 months ago and lived in Gotham before that. He was caught by a guy in a black cloak during a $0 shopping trip. Because of his easily angry personality, he was diagnosed with rage disorder. He was locked up in Arkham Asylum. After being discharged from the hospital, he left there and came to New York. Looking at the advertisement on the website that summoned girls for door-to-door service. Though Skinny Dog was unwilling, he still paid the deposit. Wait for the girl to come to the door, and then have fun. The balance will not be paid. Anyway, what we are doing is illegal. If you don't want to be disgraced, go to the police and report it. At worst, we can go to jail together. Not long after placing the order, the door of the room was suddenly knocked, which scared him. Is the business of young ladies so bleak now? I just placed the order. Skinny Dog just opened the door. In the dark, a man wearing a top hat and a windbreaker appeared in front of him. Like the Italian mafia in the movie, the other party had a cigarette in his mouth, and the burning cigarette but was particularly conspicuous in the dark. A smoke was sprayed towards Skinny Dog's face. The other party coughed violently. Cough, cough. Who are you? Get out of my house. Peter walked into the room and pushed the door with his foot. Get out. You are breaking in illegally. As soon as he said this, Peter suddenly grabbed his arm and bent it hard along the joint. Advertisement Skinny Dog's arm was completely broken. With a flash of cold light, all the fingers on the other hand were cut off. The heart-wrenching pain made the Skinny Dog scream. Fortunately, the core of the room was good enough and no one noticed. Peter smoked with an indifferent expression, and the black gloves blocked the possibility of him leaving fingerprints. Before entering this room, he had hacked the cameras in several nearby blocks. This operation would not expose his whereabouts. After exhaling a puff of smoke, Peter directly used the system's ability. You are guilty. Judgment. This person is a criminal. Punish this criminal to get 500 redemption points. Peter didn't want to say any more nonsense. The black muzzle of the gun was already aimed at the skinny dog's head. No, no, no. Don't kill me. I'll confess. I'll confess everything. It was Kingpin. Kingpin asked me to do it. I was in Gotham before. I heard that Kingpin was the king of the underground in New York. I just sold the big gun to the students. I didn't commit any other crimes. Skinny Dog was sweating profusely in pain. His eyes were full of fear for the man in front of him. But the black muzzle of the gun was still pointed at him. This made Skinny Dog terrified. Send me to prison. I'm going to prison. You can't kill me. Send me to prison. Don't you superheroes kill people? Bang. The silenced pistol didn't make much sound. It is said that you can't bring anything with you when you are born, and you can't take anything with you when you die. But Skinny Dog is different. When he died, there was an extra bullet in his head. Peter turned and left, without leaving a word, laughing to death. What do you mean by superheroes don't kill people? Do you have to learn from Batman? What kind of justice is that? Arrest the criminals and send them to prison or a mental hospital, then wait for them to escape and cause more damage to people, and then arrest them again. When facing evil people, you have to stab them to death. Where do so many explanations come from? Not long after Peter left, a woman with a slender and graceful figure, but with obvious erosion of time on her face, came here. In the past, her duties were quite legal. But now, you have to carry someone behind your back. The woman took out a mirror from her bag and deepened her flaming red lips. She left a gap in the door of the room. Without thinking, she pushed the door open and entered. Then, a sharp and piercing scream resounded throughout the Whitethorn Street. Chapter 6. You have punished the marked criminal and received 500 points. The system's prompt sounded in Peter's ears. This gave him great satisfaction, and the accumulated anger in his heart completely dissipated. This kind of scum would only harm society if he stayed. There is no need to have any psychological burden to kill him. New York is a city that never sleeps, but not many people come and go at night. Unlike the daytime, the night is the home of thieves, alcoholics, and drug addicts. This is also the reason why the crime rate in New York remains high. Theft, infringement, and violence are endless. The New York police are deeply sorry for this. It is said that the prototype of DC Gotham is New York. I just don't know how these two unrelated worlds are integrated together now. Peter wore a black coat and a white top hat, looking like the mafia in the movies of the last century, but the mask on his face destroyed the overall image style. But there is no way. He can't hack all the cameras on the street. Hey, friend, are you going to Halloween dressed like this? A voice sounded from behind Peter. He was not surprised by this. There were 3 or 4 people on the other side, and they had followed him a few minutes ago. Peter walked past and saw several young men wearing leather jackets standing under the streetlight. Compared with their weird outfits, the dagger in the hands of the leader attracted more attention. Several people walked over with comfortable expressions. Listen, friends, everyone has some difficulties in life. I'm hungry now. Please help me hand over all the money on you. Let's be friends. Otherwise, I promise that you will spend the next 6 months in the hospital. Peter shrugged his shoulders and reached out to take out a wallet. This was just taken out of Shogo's rental house. It's true that he wants his life, and he has to accept the money. Judgment. These 3 people are criminals. Punish them and get 600 redemption points. Seeing Peter take out the wallet, the leading gangster immediately raised his eyebrows and motioned the younger brother next to him to go and get it. The man smiled. We are friends now. I think your coat is pretty good too. Bang. Peter shot the gangster in front of him in the head without hesitation. Gun. He has a gun, run. The remaining 2 were shocked. They had been engaged in criminal activities for many years, and their reaction speed was quite sensitive. They reacted immediately. They quickly ran in the opposite direction of Peter. The speed was indeed not slow, but the gun was faster. Bang, bang. 2 bullets hit the criminal's legs accurately. Peter walked forward steadily. A gangster begged for mercy decisively. Sorry, I shouldn't have thought about your wallet. Let me go. I'm willing to give you all my money. Advertisement. He took out the wallet in his pocket and handed it to Peter. Peter took the wallet, took out the small bills in it, and put them in his pocket. Bang. Another gangster left this world forever. At this moment, there was only one person left, who was the boss of the trio. Oh my God. What kind of monster did I mess with? Without saying a word, Killing someone is like stepping on an ant. Peter walked up to him and held out a hand. The meaning was clear. Hand over the wallet. Here, all for you. But you can't kill me. I work for Kingpin. If you kill me, he won't let you go. The moment he took out his wallet, a bullet shot into his brain. Peter took out the money inside and threw the wallet away. He continued to walk towards home. Young and dangerous people don't use their brains, and they will be young and dangerous people all their lives. Street thugs don't use their brains, and they can only be street thugs all their lives. Peter tiptoed back home, afraid of making a little noise and waking up Uncle Ben and Aunt May. After washing up, Peter was counting his gains just now. 1,001 points for exchange. More than 300 USD. A lot of gains. The crime rate in New York is extremely high, and Peter will not worry about finding a place to earn points. If it doesn't work, go to Gotham for a business trip. I estimate that if I go out again tomorrow, I can accumulate 2,000 points. Then I will change the spider telepathy ability. Anyway, this ability can perceive danger in advance, which is quite good. Then I will exchange the weapon proficiency and combat proficiency in the exchange mall. Peter has thought about saving 200,000 points directly and doing a big one-time exchange to get the Homelander template. But it is really difficult. It's like looking for a job. If you want a high-paying job, you have to have a good education, and tuition fees are necessary expenses. Just when Peter was about to go to bed, there was a bang outside the window, the sound of heavy objects hitting. He quickly opened the windowsill and saw a black and white figure holding the window with all his strength. The battle suit on the back was torn and blood oozed out. This person was none other than Gwen. Gee, Spider-Woman. Peter grabbed Gwen's arm, and with his current strength, he easily lifted Gwen up. Wait a minute, I'll get the medical kit. Peter rushed downstairs at a very fast pace. Chapter 7. It will hurt a lot in a while. You have to bear it. Peter opened the medical box and took out the iodine from it. Gwen's fair back was exposed to his view. But at this moment, there was no beauty at all. A bloody wound, indescribably hideous. What a pity. Such delicate skin might leave scars. After Gwen leaves, see if there is any ointment for scar treatment in the system mall. Gwen turned her back to Peter. If it were normal, she would definitely blush and her heart would beat fast. But at this moment she was enduring huge amounts of pain. I'm so sorry. Please help me disinfect it. Influenced by her father George, Gwen also wanted to be a person who contributed to society and could maintain public order. While having dinner tonight, George suddenly received a message from the police station. It said that a criminal was controlling the rhino armor to rob a bank. It caused considerable damage. As the director of the New York Police Department, George had the obligation to maintain public order in the city. He immediately went to the scene of the crime. Gwen was worried about her father's safety, so she put on a battle suit and followed him quietly. Then she inevitably fought with the rhino. But she had only obtained the ability not long after all. Both her fighting skills and reaction speed were immature. The wound on her back was caused by the sharp rhino horn. If it was a little deeper, I'm afraid this new superhero would have died on the spot. As for going to the hospital to treat the wound, Gwen didn't think about it. An ambulance will come with a phone call, which only happens on TV. However, George is the chief of the police department and can enjoy special services in the hospital, but Gwen will definitely expose her identity. I wanted to go home to treat the wound, but I fell into Peter's window because of exhaustion. Bear with it. It hurts a little. Because the wound was too deep, Peter put a towel against Gwen's waist and poured a small bottle of iodine on it. Gwen gritted her teeth and endured the pain. When the effect of the alcohol passed, Peter quickly bandaged her with gauze. Excuse me. Before Gwen could react, Peter's warm hands reached into her combat uniform. The gauze wrapped around her body layer by layer. Gwen could feel Peter's big hands entwined back and forth under her chest. This made Gwen, who was behind the mask, very embarrassed. It was so embarrassing. Exposing her back in front of Peter was the biggest extent she could accept. Although Gwen and Mary Jane met the band at school and kept trying new things, it did not mean that she was open. Especially her father was still a very conservative person. Now her fair face was covered with a layer of red, and even her ears were red. Luckily it was Peter. If it was someone else, no, it would not be someone else. If it was a stranger, she would not crawl in at all. The doctor is not afraid. Don't mind it too much. Peter's understated words eased the awkward atmosphere a little. Okay. Peter tied the gauze and reminded. Advertisement. Remember to change the gauze every day. It's better to wrap it with a bandage and apply powder. If it's inconvenient for you, you can come to me at any time. I won't come to you again. Gwen silently complained. She will never allow such a shameful thing to happen again. Gwen stood up, looked at Peter, and thanked him sincerely. Thank you, Peter. How do you know my name is Peter? Oh my God. Gwen was speechless for a moment. She forgot that she was still wearing a mask. You must have seen the signature on my desk. After teasing Gwen, Peter gave her another step. Yes, I saw your signature. Gwen breathed a sigh of relief. Then, I'll leave first. Gwen walked to the window. Wait a minute. Peter held Gwen's hand. Spider-Woman, you are the hero of the city. I like you. Gwen snorted in her heart when she heard this. Is this a confession? You haven't told the blonde girl in the neighbor's house who doesn't wear a mask. No, it's the blonde beauty. What else? Do you want my phone number? Do you want to date me? Peter didn't answer this question. Instead, he asked her to wait. Then he took out something like a metal wristband from the drawer. What is this? It's specially developed for you. I call it web shooters. Peter developed this thing before entering Osborne's company for a visit. For a science genius with good grades, inventing some small things is not a problem. Originally, it was intended for her to use, but she didn't expect that in this world, Gwen is Spider-Man. Gwen looked confused. What is this? As the name suggests, it can launch cobwebs. How can a spider not launch cobwebs? Put it on, and you can roam in the steel forest of New York in the future. It has good toughness and excellent strength. The cobweb will automatically decompose 4 hours after it is launched, which is very environmentally friendly. Gwen didn't know what to say at this moment. This is exactly what she needs now. After all, Gwen is not like the original Spider-Man in the movie, who can automatically launch cobwebs. Although Gwen is smart, she is still far behind Peter. She will never be able to research this thing by herself. According to normal development, web shooters were developed for her by Wasp. Now that Peter is gone, Gwen has saved several years of detours. Peter took out another web shooters from the drawer and a box of cobweb ammunition. Take them all, enough for you to use for a while. Gwen was deeply moved. She was able to maintain the image of Spider-Woman just now, but now she can't maintain it at all. She hugged Peter directly. She whispered in his ear, "Thank you, Peter." Then she unfolded part of the mask, revealing her lips, and kissed Peter on the cheek. Chapter 8. After Gwen left, Peter also lost his sleepiness. He simply took advantage of his energy to start scientific research again. If Gwen could use cobweb, he could do it too. Because he had done web shooters before, it didn't take much effort to do it again. One night passed. Peter finished web shooters. Because of the disturbance caused by Green Goblin to the school, Midtown Science and Technology High School temporarily suspended classes for one day. Peter slept until noon. If Uncle Ben hadn't called him, he would probably have slept longer. Peter washed up and went to the nearest Chinese supermarket, and bought a few pounds of pork. In the whole America, only the pork sold in Chinese supermarkets is castrated. I saw a video on the internet in my previous life. When overseas students cook local pork, they blanch pepper, star anise, onion, ginger, garlic, and blanch it for several hours, and finally throw away the pot. At that time, he thought it was exaggerated. It was not until he traveled through time that he understood the practice of international students. Even after being in this world for 18 years, he still couldn't accept the taste of local pigs. He returned home carrying several pounds of pork, beef, and a small box of butter biscuits. Aunt May hurried over. "Peter, where have you been? It's not safe outside now." Uncle Ben, who was sitting on the sofa, said, "How can a young man of his age stay at home?" "Oh my God, Peter. Why did you buy so many things back? Where did you get the money?" For the Parker family, Uncle Ben and Aunt May's salary just paid the mortgage and the most basic living expenses. During business hours, Uncle Ben would go out to rent out and subsidize the family. Otherwise, in the first generation of the plot, Aunt May would not have sold furniture to make a living after Uncle Ben died. Uncle Ben saw the food in Peter's hand and had a bad idea in his mind. Compared with their time, young people nowadays have become more open and less regular. He was quite afraid that Peter would go astray. Peter had already thought of the excuse. "This is the money I made from repairing cars. I worked part-time in a German car company when I was on business. The boss is very rich and generous." Hearing this, the two of them felt relieved. Peter grew up under their watch and had a certain understanding of this child. Although Ben suspected that he would learn bad things, he still believed in him. Peter quickly changed the subject. "Aunt May, you said it's dangerous outside. Did something happen again?" Advertisement. Ben nodded and pointed at the TV. "It's being reported." The TV was broadcasting the news of the Daily Bugle. The female host narrated what happened last night in a concise manner. On the evening of September 13th, a serious home robbery occurred in the residential area of 5037 Whitethorn Street in New York City. The victim died on the spot. A woman who was engaged in illegal work appeared at the scene of the crime at the first time. The time of the crime has been determined. The New York police are doing their best to solve the case. In the same period, 2 other cases occurred in New York City. 3 young people on Whitethorn Street were also shot. When the police retrieved the surveillance, they found that the surveillance system was hacked. Currently, only the surveillance in front of a pizza shop has captured the suspect's photo. A photo appeared on TV. From a bird's eye view, a man wearing a top hat and a coat, but his face was not captured. How did our city become like this? Peter sighed and said, but this suspect's clothes are not bad. Uncle Ben nodded. Indeed, his clothes are really good. I remember that I seem to have a piece of clothes like this. How could he know that Peter went out wearing his coat last night? On the TV, the female host continued. Another case in the same time period occurred on Champs-Élysées Street, where the Bank of America was robbed by a rhino in a Mecca. Spider-Woman was also present at the scene. At the end of the news, a man who looked to be in his 50s appeared in the camera, and his position and name were marked below the TV. Jonah James, the founder and editor-in-chief of the Daily Bugle. James, who was wearing a suit and a beard, shouted, "These masked guys in New York are all destroyers of the city, all criminals, including the masked Spider-Woman. You are the scum of society. You are." Peter changed the channel. It is true that no matter which universe, Jonah James is Spider-Man's eternal sunspot. Did he get bit by a spider when he was a child? Or does he have any psychological trauma to spiders? I always feel that his attitude is a bit too radical. Just then, the system prompt sounded. Ding, new task. Punish the rhino. A rude, low IQ guy left a deep wound on your girl's back with huge amounts of armor. Such a guy should be punished by the villain superhero. Please make a big fuss. Mission goal. Punish the rhino. Mission completion reward. 5,000 redemption points. The first time you complete the task, the points will be doubled. Chapter 9. The aroma of pork wafted from the kitchen. Aunt May was making stir-fried pork with peppers and beef stew with potatoes. 2 authentic Chinese dishes. Because Peter likes to eat, Aunt May specially visited the Chinese chef. Uncle Ben patted Peter on the shoulder. He looked at him with the eyes of a man. Peter, you have grown up. You have inherited your father's intelligence and excellent grades. Since you were in the 3rd grade of elementary school, I have not been able to tutor you. This family is not rich, and we all know it. But it is not time for you to think about making money yet. Study hard. There is only 1 year left in high school. With your grades, you will definitely be able to go to a very good university. I will take care of making money. Peter didn't know what to say for a while. Most men express their feelings in a subtle way. He nodded. Don't worry, Uncle Ben. Your grades will not fall behind. Aunt May's voice also came from the kitchen. Go wash your hands quickly, and you can have lunch soon. Aunt May looked at Peter with a relieved look in her eyes. Peter was just 1 month old when she was by her side. It was not an exaggeration to say that he was her own child. At the same time, she felt a little guilty. Before the summer vacation, Aunt May went to Midtown Science and Technology High School and saw Peter's classmates. They were all bright and beautiful, but only Peter was still wearing old clothes from 2 years ago. It smells so good, Aunt May. I can eat 2 bowls of rice today. After lunch, Peter slept for a while and went out in the afternoon. He carried Uncle Ben's coat in his backpack. Although the system has issued tasks, but he is not going to take action against the Rhino Man yet. What he needs to do now is to earn points and exchange them for spider telepathy. Facing the Rhino Man wearing a mecha, Peter feels that with spider telepathy, his chances of winning will be more secure. There is still some time before dark. He put on the web shooters he made overnight last night, climbed to the rooftop of the 50-story building, put on a mask, stand on the edge of the rooftop, overlooking the street below, and take a deep breath. At this moment, it is inevitable to be a little nervous. Come on. He encouraged himself in his heart. The middle and ring fingers were bent, just pressing on the sensor button in the palm of the hand. The cobweb shot out like a stream of water from a floodgate. It stuck directly to a building across the wide street. Peter did not hesitate and floated over directly. However, a tragic thing happened. Although he was bound to the yin shuangying template, the smooth cobweb was like a lubricant in his hand. With his current strength, he couldn't catch it at all. Peter fell to the ground on the building several dozen meters high. Advertisement: even if yin shuangying fell from this height, he would definitely die. Fortunately, Peter was prepared. Get ability. Flash, when you roll, you have an invincible frame. Even if you face 10 machine guns, you will not be hit. Note, infinite CD for rolling. When he was about to land, Peter used a flash directly. A roll, a successful invincible frame, avoided the damage of falling from a high altitude. Peter was shocked. Hurry up and earn points to exchange for Homelander templates. Yin Shuangying is very strong, but this is the Marvel world. No matter how strong Yin Shuangying is, he is still a human being. How can a human compare with a monster? When the night came, Peter also changed his clothes. This time he took the subway in advance to the suburbs 2 hours away from Queens. Compared with the strong police force in New York City, the suburbs are almost ignored, which also leads to a lot of hidden activities in this place. For example, human trafficking and child trafficking. A rich man bought an island, built a mansion on it, and found a group of minors to provide big shots with pleasure. The more well-dressed, the more hypocritical. As a computer genius, Peter monitors everything in this country equally. He knew a long time ago that there was a den in the suburbs of New York, which was dedicated to detaining teenage girls and then sent to the island. But he didn't tell anyone about this, not even Gwen's father, George. With George's character, if he knew about this, he would definitely investigate it thoroughly. But Peter knew that George couldn't do anything about it, and the biggest possibility was that he would get into trouble. Peter did make several anonymous phone calls to relevant agencies, but there was no difference between fighting and not fighting. Peter took out a cigarette from his pocket, lit it, and walked towards an old city area. I really envy Big Shot's life. What a perverted way to play. At the door of an old residential building, 2 men, one black and one white, were chatting. There were a dozen companions in the building. Every 2 hours, a shift was changed. There were 7 or 8 little girls and little boys locked up inside. Some big shots were like priests in the church, always liking different kinds of excitement. Hold on for another day, and after sending the people away, you can also spend money to try some perverted ways of playing. At this moment, the two suddenly noticed a man in a coat walking towards them. He looked like the mafia in the movie The Godfather. Hey, stay away from here. Bang, bang. Plop, plop. The two had no time to react, and the 2 bullets hit their brains accurately. Peter also heard the system prompt sound in his ears. You have punished the marked criminal and received 300 points. Chapter 10. F***K. We're being targeted. Bob, the leader of this group, was a mercenary in his early years and later went to New York to work for Kingpin. Trafficking minors is one of Kingpin's many industries. Bob never thought that someone would dare to trouble Kingpin, the underground emperor of New York. He extended a selfie stick with a mobile phone out of the window. With a bang, almost at the same time, a hole was punched in the mobile phone on the selfie stick. How many people are there on the other side? Boss, there's only one of them. What did you say? Then why are we so scared? Let's go down together and kill this guy. But boss, he's already up. Bob's pupils shrank, and he saw a shadow in a coat standing at the stairs. Just like the Razor Gang in Peaky Blinders. Don't be afraid, we have the advantage in numbers. He only has 2 guns, so he can't shoot many bullets. After that, a group of people fired at Peter, and the bullets were poured at Peter without cost. Faced with this situation, Peter did not dare to be careless. He rolled over continuously. The bullets passed by him, but they just couldn't hit him. What's going on? How can someone be so flexible? Peter did not dodge blindly and continued to shoot while rolling. Bob's companions fell to the ground and died one after another. Fuck. It's a devil. You fired more than 20 shots in a row. Why do you still have bullets? He was completely dumbfounded and couldn't believe what he saw. When he reacted, there was no one around him, all dead. Huge amounts of fear enveloped Bob's heart. He threw the gun in his hand on the ground and begged for mercy in a trembling voice. Don't kill me. King Bing is my boss. You won't have a good end if you offend him. Bob knelt on the ground and said the most cruel words in the most humble tone. Peter was too lazy to talk nonsense with this little Kayla. He raised his arm. The bullet was fired, ending Bob's sinful life. You have punished the marked criminal and received 200 points. You have punished the marked criminal and received 500 points. You have punished the marked criminal and received 800 points. Peter put on a mask and skillfully searched for the wallet on the body. This time he had a good harvest. The accumulated points were enough for him to exchange for spider telepathy, and he also got more than $800 from the criminal. Peter had already thought about the use of this money, changing into a coat, He opened the door of a bedroom. He saw a dozen young girls huddled in the corner because of the fear of the gunfight. Advertisement: the oldest one looked no more than 18 years old. Ladies, congratulations on your freedom. I hope the bodies outside don't scare you. Good night. Half an hour later, Peter changed back into his original clothes and appeared at the subway station. It was already 8 o'clock in the evening. He had to take the next subway back to Queens and should be able to get home before 11 o'clock. I have to go to school tomorrow. Peter let out a sigh of relief. He really has no patience for waiting for the bus. Forget it. Let's redeem the spider telepathy first. Open the points mall. Because it's the first order, the spider telepathy worth 20,000 points is sold at a 10% discount, now only 2,000. Redeem. Get ability. Spider telepathy, get a hint a few seconds before the danger comes, and avoid danger at the critical moment. Hint. Achieve the achievement of killing people like crazy, 10 out of 100, and achieve a small success. Reward time-limited item, Rabbit Talisman. Get item, Rabbit Talisman. The agile rabbit can make you more agile and increase your speed by 100 times. The Rabbit Talisman can be used for 3 months. Peter held the talisman in his hand and felt a little dazed. Does anyone have this thing? Start a long-term task, collect zodiac signs, 1/12. What's the difference between me and the Flash with the Rabbit Talisman? Peter walked out of the subway station, a little excited. The Rabbit Talisman's ability was activated, and everything around seemed to slow down. The flying bird seemed to be still in the air. The falling leaves from the tree stopped in the air, motionless. It wasn't that time stopped, but that Peter's speed became faster. Peter glanced at the time on his phone. 20 hours, 12 minutes, and 5 seconds. Peter started to move, running directly from the suburbs of New York back to Queens, his home. Look at the time again. 20 hours, 12 minutes, and 8 seconds. 3 seconds. Peter ran countless kilometers in 3 seconds. Peter went upstairs lightly, and tonight was a great harvest. He exchanged for spider telepathy and got the Rabbit Talisman. Now the chances of winning against the Rhino Man are much greater. Originally, Peter wanted to make some more preparations. Now it seems that there is no need for this. Even if there is no system task, he is not going to let go of the guy who hurt Gwen. Tomorrow morning, ask George about the situation of the Rhino Man to see if there is any clue about him. If there is, then tomorrow night will be the death date of the Rhino Man. After washing up, Peter opened the exchange mall again on the bed. The mall was also refreshed. Venom symbiote, priced at 150,000 points, parasitic organism. After using it, the body function is greatly improved. There is a risk of being controlled. Desert Eagle with unlimited bullets, priced at 5,000 points. Homelander template, priced at 200,000 points. Purchase permission has been unlocked. Chapter 11. The next morning. As usual, after breakfast, Peter got into the car of his neighbor George. Peter, don't worry. The New York police have the ability to protect your safety, and now the police force of the police station has been dispersed. A few days ago, Midtown University of Science and Technology was attacked by Green Goblin. Peter slept for 2 days, and George thought he must have been frightened. I'm fine, Uncle George. Sitting in the back seat of the police car, Gwen listened to the conversation between the two and had no intention of interrupting. Because of the super ability, her physical fitness has also improved several times. The wound on her back caused by the rhino has healed and scabbed. At the same time, she was thinking about another thing. Peter is such a big pig's hoof. Last time at Peter's house, the other party treated her wounds and acted so considerately. But she was still wearing a mask at that time. When she returned home, Gwen realized that Peter was in love with someone else. In the past, Peter never expressed his intention to fall in love with her. But Gwen felt that this was something that was bound to happen sooner or later. As a result, he was so gentle to a masked woman of unknown origin. Although this woman was herself, Gwen crossed her arms. Her blonde hair was particularly beautiful, but there was a little jealousy on her face. Yes, she was jealous of herself, but she couldn't say anything. She couldn't wear Spider-Woman's battlesuit, walk to Peter's room, take off the mask, and scare him. Gwen, why are you not right today? As a father, George found that Gwen was different from usual today. Is she more beautiful than usual? My daughter has always been beautiful, Peter. What do you think? Peter nodded. Yes, Gwen is very popular in school. I remember that someone pursued her when she was in high school. George smiled after hearing this. So, Peter, you are very thoughtful. Gwen's fair face turned red after hearing this. Dad. This made Peter a little embarrassed. George asked him to pick up his daughter in front of him. He was really confident in himself. Advertisement. Peter looked back at Gwen, who made a playful face. Suddenly she was stunned. "Peter, where are your glasses?" Gwen had felt something was wrong just now, but she didn't notice it for a while. Now she suddenly realized that Peter's glasses had disappeared. After discovering this difference, more changes were also noticed. "You seem to have grown taller and stronger. What's going on, Peter?" In Gwen's impression, Peter has always been very weak and belongs to the type that can eat anything but gain weight. He is not tall, even a little shorter than herself. "Dad, stop the car first." Hearing his daughter's reminder, George also noticed Peter's changes. Gwen got out of the police car and pulled Peter out. The two stood together, and sure enough, Peter was more than half a head taller than her. His figure also became more upright. If you use plants to describe Peter, he used to be an eggplant hit by frost, but now he is a tall tree. He is no longer the shrunken high school student. "Peter, what's going on?" George asked with concern. He had never seen such a thing before. No, it can't be said that he had never seen it before. When George was young, he saw the poster of Captain America. It seemed that he had changed from a weak soldier to a powerful warrior. It was a pity that his plane had an accident, and he seemed to have passed away. Since Peter obtained the system and the yin shuangying template, he thought that people would notice something unusual. So he had already thought of the words to deal with it. "I don't know what happened. Maybe it was the day when the school was attacked by Green Goblin. I was scared. I went home and slept for 2 days. After waking up, I became like this." Gwen and her father looked at each other and digested the surprise in their eyes. "Can it be like this?" Gwen looked at Peter now, and the joy in her eyes could not be hidden. She used to think that she was not a superficial person, and handsome guys could not attract her attention. Now, she is indeed quite superficial. Her eyes could not help but turn around Peter's face. Peter now is really manly. "Uncle George, let's keep going. There's a lot of traffic on the road to school." George hummed. "Get in the car." Leaning on the co-pilot, Peter intentionally or unintentionally directed the topic to the rhino. "Uncle George, do you have any clues about the rhino who robbed the bank?" Hearing this, George's eyes dimmed. "I don't know. Now I only know that the guy in the metal armor is the Bear Man. As for where he is now, no one knows. I fought with him. The guy was wearing a set of metal armor that bullets couldn't penetrate. Even if we know his location, we have to make a precise battle plan. Otherwise, it will cause great casualties. Last time, a colleague died in his hands." Peter nodded and said nothing more. "I didn't read many comics in my previous life, so I didn't know much about the rhino. But he hurt Gwen, so he has to pay the price." Chapter 12. At night, Osborne Company. Norman Osborn's situation is getting worse. Green Goblin's personality always controls him at the most critical moment. He sat in the office on the top floor of the company, looking at his hideous self in the mirror. "Please, don't do those things again. Please." The voice of Green Goblin in the mirror seemed to have a bewitching effect. "I'm doing this for us. That Spider-Woman is a nosy guy. Only by getting her blood can we survive. Think about Harry. Think about your son. He's not even 20 years old yet. Do you want to see him die in front of you?" Osborne sighed. "You're right. I have to think about Harry. Let someone cause chaos in the city and then lure Spider-Woman out." Then he picked up his phone and dialed a number. Whispered, "Tell the rhino that he can rob another bank." At the same time, in an abandoned factory, a burly guy smiled. Looking at the huge amounts of metal rhinos in front of him, he smiled. "With this mecha, I am invincible. It's time for me to show my skills." This burly and strong man is none other than the rhino. The real name of the rhino is Alexei Seisvich, a bear man. In his early years, he heard that America could make money easily, and then he came here without hesitation. But because of his simple mind, he eventually became a gangster thug. Some time ago, I heard that Osborne Company was doing some human experiments, and those who participated in the experiments could get a large amount of rewards, enough to make a person live a rich life for more than 10 years. Alexei took the initiative to participate in the experiment, and his physical fitness was greatly strengthened. Later, the personality of Osborne Company took the initiative to find him and provided him with a set of armor. A large number of language weapons and even anti-tank missiles were installed on the armor. It is worth mentioning that the words Stark were written on the Rhino mecha. With this set of armor, Alexei officially became a Rhino. The people of Osborne Company asked him to rob a bank. Although he didn't understand why, he wanted to do something like robbing a bank without being told. After all, what other way to make money is faster than robbing a bank? Rhino said to Osborne's employees, "With this suit of armor, no one can hurt me." I am invincible. Last time, the Spider-Woman ran away. If she dares to come again this time, I don't mind stepping on her to death. How can a spider compare with a rhino? Rhino felt that his body was full of strength, not to mention the blessing of the armor. Rhino locked onto the nearest bank. The powerful firepower can easily smash the walls of the bank. With a bang, smoke and dust rose. Countless people screamed, "Hand over all the money, or I will shoot you into meat paste." The New York Police Department received the alarm call as soon as possible. Immediately dispatched. They were fast, but Peter was faster. Advertisement Peter, who hacked into the police station system, received the message as soon as possible. He changed into a set of clothes that was completely different from usual. He bought this online. It was also the style of the gangsters. It's just that it's no longer the Italian mafia, but more like the Razor Gang and Peaky Blinders. With the rabbit charm, no one can be faster than him except Superman. He arrived at the crime scene almost instantly. "Hey, big guy, if you surrender now, I might let you go." The rhino turned around and was stunned. Who is this person? A policeman? If it's a policeman, then the speed is too fast. He just broke a wall, and someone came to stop him the next second. Although the rhino was slightly surprised, he was not afraid. He was simple-minded and liked to use violence to solve problems. As he said this, he controlled the mecha, and the barrel on the mecha aimed at Peter's head. "Anyone who stops me must die." The rhino pulled the trigger without hesitation. But nothing happened. He was stunned. "Damn it, where are my bullets?" He realized that there were no bullets in the mecha, but he clearly remembered to load bullets into the mech. Damn it. Bulletproof head. When the enemy points a gun at your head, there will be no bullets in the opponent's gun. Passive. Peter smiled slightly. It seems that this passive function is quite strong. The rhino immediately checked other facilities, fortunately, except for the bullets that disappeared inexplicably. Everything else is there. No bullets, then try this. Bang. Fire splashed. A small missile shot at Peter. At the same time, the flow rate of everything around slowed down. The missile shot at Peter at a speed of 1 millimeter per second. Peter activated the rabbit spell. Even without the rabbit spell, this missile could not hurt him. Continuous dodge to maintain invincibility. But he didn't want to dirty his new clothes. Because the rhino moved too much, the people nearby had already run away, and Peter didn't need to save people, he just took care of himself. Bang! The missile exploded, and the rhino was exposed. "Haha, you must have been blown to pieces." "Sorry, you can't touch me." Peter's voice came from behind the rhino. Even though he was wearing a mecha, he was sweating profusely. Impossible. How could this be possible? The bomb didn't kill him. Chapter 13. The rhino was horrified. He had clearly aimed just now, so why was he not hurt at all? "I don't believe I can't hit you." Bang, bang, bang. The missile was fired at Peter again, but it was still useless. In the face of extreme speed, both missiles and bullets became extremely slow. Peter dodged easily. The rhino was completely panicked at this moment. How did he do it? This person is not afraid of missiles. With his eyes, he couldn't keep up with Peter's speed at all, and he thought Peter was not afraid of missiles. It's terrible. The rhino's heart was pounding nonstop. He was just simple-minded, but not fearless. At this moment, he was ready to retreat. He shouted to Peter, "Hey, you are really powerful. Missiles can't kill you, but I have heavy armor and you can't touch me." Peter snorted and laughed. "Really? Want to make a bet? I bet you can get out of the armor by yourself. If you win, I can let you go and lose you $1. If you lose, you will die today." A question mark popped up in the rhino's mind. What is an ocean? Is this person in front of him crazy? How can he leave the mecha and stay inside to ensure his safety to the greatest extent? At the moment this thought appeared, his fingers seemed to open the switch to leave the armor uncontrollably. Wong's hair. "My body is out of control." The rhino's eyes were wide open, and it couldn't be said that his body was out of control, but for some reason, he inexplicably wanted to leave the mecha and make a bet with the mysterious man in front of him. Forced interruption. When you propose to gamble with $1, the other party will immediately stop what he is doing and gamble with you. Peter had a blank expression on his face and slowly walked towards the rhino who had left the mecha. "I said, if you lose, you will die." Just then, the New York police finally arrived. 7 or 8 police cars surrounded the two. George, the leader, pulled out a pistol and pointed it at the two. "Don't move, raise your hands." Peter walked towards the rhino with a blank expression, not affected by the police at all. Before coming here, in order to safely deal with the rhino, he specially exchanged 2 potions in the points mall. One is an endurance-strengthening potion. The other is a strength-strengthening potion. The effects of the 2 potions can only last for 3 hours, but fortunately only 100 points are needed for the exchange. George hurriedly said, "Hey, stop. Advertisement, raise your hands. Dangerous elements will naturally be dealt with by the New York police. Don't meddle in other people's business. The court will naturally judge him." George's words were a joke to Peter. Whether it was Marvel or DC, he had never seen any bad guy punished by the police. Even if there were, they were only a minority. If the bad guys are not eliminated, they will only persecute the good guys. If confession worked, there would be no villain superheroes. Peter grabbed the wrist of the Rhino Man. He threw the Rhino Man to the ground with an over-the-shoulder throw. Perhaps because he had never seen such a scene before, a policeman pulled the trigger nervously. The other policemen were stimulated and all fired at the 2 men, but Peter had already disappeared on the spot. He held the Rhino Man's arm and dragged the Rhino Man's body. He rushed at a very fast speed, ignoring the fact that the Rhino Man's body was rubbed into a bloody mess, and even a lot of bones were rubbed off. All countries in the world at the same latitude sounded the alarm. All detected that an unidentified object broke into the territory very quickly and then disappeared at a very fast speed. George cursed the police officer who fired the gun. "Get out! Who told you to shoot?" At this moment, the mysterious man and the Rhino Man disappeared. This was equivalent to returning in vain, and various media heard the news, and the scene just now had been recorded by the newspaper reporter. He also took photos. However, a gust of wind whistled the next second. Peter, in disguise, appeared again. Next to him was the tattered body of the rhino. Except for the arm that Peter had just held, the rest of the rhino's body was almost wiped clean, and even his internal organs were almost gone. If his body had not been strengthened, and he was just an ordinary person, he would have been dragged around the earth by Peter. He would have been dead. When everyone saw the body of the rhino, whether it was the police or the newspaper reporters, they all stared with their eyes wide open, not daring to say a word. They endured the discomfort and dared not breathe. Horrible. It was really terrible. This man was so terrible. Even George, who had risen from a grassroots policeman to the director, was shocked. How could he know that the mysterious man who would be on the New York Times tomorrow and was hailed as the most terrifying hero was a student at Midtown Science and Technology High School, his good neighbor, and the ideal husband chosen for his daughter? Peter moved his body and felt a little tired. After all, he is just an ordinary person. Even with the strengthening of 2 potions and the rabbit charm, he still feels uncomfortable after circling the earth. He has to continue to score points. Peter took off the same octagonal hat as Tommy Shelby and adjusted his hair. He said to the New York police, "You're welcome." Peter disappeared in the next second. Chapter 14. Osborne Company has many industries in New York and many informants. At this moment, in Norman Osborne's home, the TV is playing a video of Peter's battle with the rhino. Damn, how did he do it? Osborne, who was occupied by the Green Goblin personality, showed abnormal anger. Even after dozens of times of slow playback, there was no trace of Peter's movement. Spider-Woman hasn't been lured out yet, and now there is a mysterious razor party. Green Goblin's angry punch directly smashed a table. The miserable state of the rhino frightened him. However, this did not make him give up the idea of creating chaos and attracting Spider-Woman. After all, judging from the battle just now, the razor party was very fast and strong, but there was a fatal weakness. He couldn't fly, and Green Goblin had a bat flight. Next, as long as he was careful, there wouldn't be too many problems. Peter was already on the train to the Stark building. There was still some time before dark. Just now, when he was moving at high speed, he destroyed the words about Stark Industries on the rhino and took a photo. Tony Stark is still a playboy now, and it will take some time for him to become Iron Man. There are no superheroes on the streets of New York. As for Superman and Homelander, they occasionally visit this city. Yes, you heard it right. The complexity of this world is ridiculous. It not only integrates the universes of Marvel, DC, but also the boys. Superman does good things for justice, but Homelander does good things just to increase his popularity and increase the stock of Vought Corporation, even if they occasionally do something to uphold justice. But there are still too few superheroes, and the crime rate in the city is too high. Noodles, ice, trafficking, theft, robbery. Although Peter can get points from them, he still hopes that the world can be safer. So the purpose of this Stark building trip is to let Tony understand as soon as possible that the military products made by their company are not only sold to the military. On the train, Peter is resting with his eyes closed. The system prompt sounded. The task of punishing the rhino has been completed. Your treatment of the rhino is consistent with the identity of a villain superhero. The following are hidden scoring items. Facing the enemy with preparation, rated 1,000 points. Treat the enemy with cruel means, rated 4,000 points. Comment. When the bad guys tortured the good guys, they never thought about how cruel they were. You punish them with thundering means, which is the punishment they deserve. Holding the Vajra, the Bodhisattva's heart is revealed. The score is converted into points. The points for the first mission are doubled. You finally get 15,000 points. One additional bonus point. Please choose to add points from the following abilities: Bulletproof Head, Flash, Forced Interruption, Spider Telepathy. Peter hesitated for a moment and finally chose Spider Telepathy. Advertisement in the future. When there is a stronger template, it seems that Yin Shuangying's ability will not be of much use. In comparison, Spider Telepathy can be used for a long time. After Peter made his choice, the originally white Spider Telepathy on the system panel turned blue. Spider Telepathy V1, V2 increase in alert sensitivity. Peter breathed a sigh of relief. 15,000 plus the original scattered points. His accumulated points now reached more than 16,000. He was one step closer to exchanging for the Homelander template. Who would win the final victory in the fight with the real Homelander? Not long after, Peter arrived at Stark Industries. America High School finishes school between 2 and 3 o'clock. Peter hadn't even finished his work for 4 o'clock when he solved the problem of the rhino. At this time, the employees of Stark Industries hadn't gotten off work yet. Peter came to the front desk and saw a staff member in a professional suit. "Hello, sir. Who are you looking for?" I'm looking for Miss Pepper Potts." As a boss worth hundreds of millions, Tony Stark, Peter felt that he would not want to meet a high school student. Even if this high school student was handsome. "Do you have an appointment?" "Hey, I just found a necklace at the door. I bet it was you who dropped it." Peter stretched out his hand, and a finely crafted necklace hung on his finger, but it should not be very valuable. "I am a friend of Miss Pepper, and she never told me that there is such a beautiful lady like you in Stark Industries." Peter felt that as the secretary of Tony, the hands-off boss, Pepper might not have time to meet a high school student without an appointment. So the front desk needed to inform. As for the trick on the female receptionist, it was learned from the male protagonist Leo in the movie Cat and Mouse game. The reason why he has been successful in this trick is that he has a good face. Peter was not sure of success. The female receptionist looked at Peter and then looked at the necklace hanging on her hand. Her face flushed. Peter took advantage of the victory and hung the necklace around the female employee's neck with a smile, and also noticed the name tag on the female employee's chest. "Jenny, right? Listen to Jenny. I want you to call Miss Pepper now and tell her that an old friend of hers is here to see her. This method is not recommended. If you are ugly, you will be regarded as a pervert." However, Peter gives people a refreshing and naughty feeling, mainly because he is handsome. The female receptionist let out a sigh of relief and dialed Miss Pepper's number. "She is on the 21st floor. You can take the elevator up." "Thank you." Peter turned and left. "Wait a minute." The female receptionist, Jenny, called him. "What's going on?" Jenny immediately tore off a note and wrote something on it. Peter took it, and there was a string of numbers on it. Jenny blushed and said, "This is my number. Call me in the evening." Chapter 15. 21st floor. Peter just entered Pepper's office, crumpled up the phone number given by the receptionist, and threw it into the trash can. Pepper stood up quickly when she saw someone coming. She was wearing a professional suit, thin, with freckles on her face, and her hair was golden like Gwen. But she was obviously less shiny and looked a little haggard. This was normal, because the person she had a crush on was a playboy. 11 of the 12 girls in Max.im magazine last year had been in Tony Stark's bed. Anyone would be anxious and irritated to see the man they like sleeping with other women. "Hello, do we know each other?" Pepper looked at the high school student in front of her with a puzzled look. "Sorry, Miss Pepper, we haven't met before, but I just want to find you because I have something important to do." Peter took out his mobile phone directly. "You'll know after looking at this." Pepper took the phone with some caution, and the picture on it really surprised her. "Oh my God, what is this?"
Yes.
Peter took over. It is marked Stark Industries. 40 minutes ago, a few blocks away on Angelina Avenue, a criminal driving a rhino mecha attacked the entire bank, causing a certain degree of casualties. And the thing he drove, or part of the weapon, was produced by your company. Almost everyone in the country knows that Stark Industries is a military enterprise. But now this thing has fallen into the hands of criminals. I don't think you want people outside to know about this. After saying this, Peter grinned. Why did this sound like an island country's speech just now? He quickly added another sentence. Letting others know is likely to affect Stark's stock price. Pepper's expression became solemn. Thank you for telling me about this. I will check the authenticity of this matter. Pepper replied politely. Just then, a voice sounded in the room further inside the office. No need to thank him. I've seen a lot of these little tricks to cheat people out of money. Tony Stark, wearing a shirt, walked out of the room. He patted Peter on the shoulder. Kid, are you in college? I also like to play tricks on others when I was in college, but I wouldn't set my sights on billionaires. Peter was speechless. As expected of Tony, his mouth is full of honey. Tony. Pepper's tone was heavy. He's still a kid, and he came to remind me out of kindness. Tony leaned back on the desk and poured himself a glass of red wine. Kid? Stop it. Which kid of yours can pick up a beautiful receptionist with just a few words? Sorry, I didn't mean to spy on you. I just happened to be bored and saw this scene from the surveillance. I have to say, your skills in picking up girls are better than mine, and I've learned another trick. Tony. Pepper interrupted Tony Stark again, and solemnly apologized to Peter. Sorry, my boss is mentally ill. Tony. Come on, you say a genius is mentally ill? I bet the photos in this kid's phone are photoshopped. The purpose is to cheat some money. Advertisement, if you don't believe me. I can contact the military right now and get the truth from them tonight. The weapons in this rhino armor can never come from Stark Industries. I trust Obadiah Stane very much. He is my father's partner and will never sell weapons to others. Peter was speechless. So angry. He had already thought about changing into a combat uniform at night and talking to Tony about this matter in a different identity. As for Obadiah Stane mentioned by Tony just now, Peter was no stranger to him. He was the villain in Iron Man. He privately sold arms to the Middle East and plotted to harm Tony. But because he was a friend of Hodgson Stark, Tony trusted him very much. Mr. Stark, since you don't trust me, I have nothing to say. Peter left a word and turned around. How about staying for a drink? We can talk about how to pick up girls. I'll pay and you'll provide the skills? Peter ignored him. After he left, Miss Pepper stomped her feet. Tony, you're really going too far. After that, she also left the office. Tony Stark shrugged his shoulders indifferently and drank the red wine in the glass. Sitting in the office chair, he contacted his military friend, Captain Rhodes. The purpose is definitely to prove that the weapons on the rhino armor have nothing to do with Stark Industries. An hour later, it was getting dark. He received a reply from Rhodes. Tony, that thing is indeed a weapon produced by Stark Industries. We retrieved the video footage of the nearby streets. It does say Stark Industries, and the technicians dismantled the mecha. All the core weapons come from your company. What? Tony couldn't believe his ears. Although he was the boss of the company, the sales had always been handed over to Obadiah. Could it really be? Tony looked solemn and said to himself, next time I see that kid, I have to apologize to him. As soon as the voice fell, a gust of wind and waves came, and a man wearing a coat and an octagonal hat, a bit like the British Razor Party, appeared in front of him. Chapter 16. Frankly speaking, Tony was a little panicked at this moment. It was not difficult to tell his identity from his outfit. This was the mafia that dominated the hot searches in New York at the moment. Almost every forum was discussing him. Some people said he was a hero, but more people thought he was a villain. How could a superhero play with criminals to death? Usually, they would catch the bad guys and hand them over to the police like Batman did. Dude, your outfit is really retro. I can recommend you to go to the catwalk. Tony wanted to stabilize the situation and say something humorous to ease the atmosphere. But as soon as he opened his mouth, people always felt that he was breathing sarcasm. Tony looked calm, but he was actually panicked. After all, the Rhino used weapons from Stark Industries, and the Mafia in front of him never showed mercy to the bad guys. It would be bad if he was mistaken for the Rhino's accomplice. Hey, listen, man. I know what you're thinking. You must think I'm a bad guy. I admit that at some point, I'm really bad. After all, women don't love bad men. But that Rhino man has nothing to do with me. I don't even know him. As for the weapon he used, I'll find out. Give me some time. I wanted to approach you as an ordinary person, but I got contempt and suspicion. Sure enough, this identity is more useful. Peter complained in his heart. I know you. He interrupted Tony's mumbling. A genius, philanthropist, playboy, the boss of Stark Industries, although a little cynical, but not a bad guy. At most, he's a little arrogant. Tony was relieved when he heard this. As long as he's not considered a bad guy, it's fine. Suddenly, he was stunned again. Arrogant? What a joke. When was I arrogant? Dude, I know you're great, but you don't know me. I don't accept the word arrogance. Peter smiled slightly and sat opposite Tony Stark. He wanted to do something pretentious, such as pouring himself a glass of red wine. Then he suddenly remembered that he was wearing a mask and couldn't drink it even if he poured it. Isn't it arrogant to mock a kind-hearted young man as a liar? Tony, do you think that everyone in the world is just like the girl you slept with, all for your money? Tony was shocked beyond words. Oh my God. Is this still a human? How could he know so much? Could it be that he has spies in the company? Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. After all, this happened only an hour ago. No. Impossible. No one can monitor my company under my nose. So there is only one possibility left. That is, the high school student who was just regarded as a liar knows the mafia in front of him. Advertisement, and they have a close relationship. Maybe he asked the high school student to come and remind him. Tony was quick-witted and quick-thinking, and felt that this was very likely. Okay, I admit that I was a little arbitrary in this matter. He shrugged his shoulders. But it's not my fault. After all, you have to understand the difficulties of a billionaire. I don't know how many people are staring at my money every day. Although I am not short of money, I can't let people get it for free, right? But I do have to apologize for this matter. It's a pity that I don't know who the kid is. Midtown Science and Technology High School, Peter said lightly. What? Tony was stunned for a moment. Peter explained. The kid is from Midtown Science and Technology High School. His family is poor and his grades are among the best in the school. After listening, Tony confirmed his thoughts again. Sure enough, the mafia in front of him knew the high school student. The reason he came here was to help the kid get back his place. Tony made an okay gesture. I will apologize. Peter nodded. Turning around and leaving, he didn't plan to interfere too much in Tony's affairs. According to the normal plot, Tony would become Iron Man, and it would be bad if he ruined this plot. Are you leaving now? Do you want to have dinner together? I usually don't eat alone with men. If you don't mind, I can call a few girls with good figures. You should keep it for yourself. Just then, there was a knock on the door. Happy walked over directly. Boss, the restaurant has been booked. Tony's attention was distracted, and when he reacted, the mafia in front of him had disappeared. Tony waved his hand. Forget it. Happy. The dinner is canceled. Help me find Obadiah. I have something to talk to him about face to face. Tony has been engaged in engineering research in the company and never cares about sales. Abedos is responsible for all of it. The weapons on the Rhino Man are inseparable from him. This matter is very serious and must be handled properly. Peter returned home in a good mood. Great. It's great to see the high-ranking billionaire get humiliated. Originally, Peter planned to continue wandering in the dark night of New York to punish those bad guys and earn points. But there is an important class in school tomorrow. The school invited a highly respected doctoral professor to teach them. Otto Octavian. Chapter 17. The next morning, George sent Peter and Gwen to Midtown Tech High School. The two got out of the police car, which was quite eye-catching. Especially Gwen, who had so many men wanting to date her. In comparison, Peter was a little transparent. However, during this period, Peter had become much stronger and taller, and most importantly, he had taken off the glasses that sealed his appearance. He gained the attention of many girls. In the past, whether in class or in school clubs, Peter was the one who was not easily noticed. Now it is completely different. When we were having dinner yesterday, a girl took the initiative to approach him and asked for Peter's contact information. However, in Gwen's almost threatening eyes, Peter did not give it. At this moment on campus, a black short-haired, sturdy boy in a baseball uniform looked at the two with an ugly expression. In the whole school, there are only two people who like this style. One is Flash Thompson, and the other is him, Duke. As a rich second-generation student who transferred from Gotham, he fell in love with Gwen hopelessly when he saw her almost as soon as he entered the campus. However, in the face of his pursuit, Gwen never paid attention to him. Even Gwen's father had a friendly conversation with him, so he could only pay attention to Gwen secretly. The person he hated most in the whole school was Peter. Anyone would feel unhappy to be so close to his goddess. But Dis didn't take it to heart. After all, Peter was too thin and weak. Apart from being good at studying, he had almost no advantages. Moreover, his family was poor and his family still had a mortgage. So he didn't regard Peter as a competitor at all. But it's different now. Peter's temperament has changed completely. It seems that he has become very popular with girls. This became more and more angry as he looked at him. For a moment, blood rushed to his head. He picked up a baseball bat and aimed the baseball at Peter's head. As long as he was gone, there would be no one to compete for Gwen. This was very good at baseball and almost never missed a shot. Peter and Gwen rushed to the teaching building, talking and laughing. Have you heard that a university professor seems to be coming to give a lecture today? Yeah, he has a lot of research on controlled nuclear fusion. At this moment, Gwen and Peter spider telepathy at the same time. Bang! Peter firmly grabbed the flying baseball and threw it back fiercely. Advertisement Dis, who did not react in time, was hit dizzy. He covered his eyes and said fiercely, "Wait and see, Peter, poor guy. My father is a rich man with an annual income of 500,000. You can't compete with my Peter." Peter rolled his eyes at him, and in front of him, he held Gwen's hand, interlocking their fingers. Gwen was stunned for a moment. A blush appeared on her face, and then she cooperated very well and stuck to Peter. In his heart, he complained. This damn desire to win for men. Dis was so angry that his face turned pale, and he turned around and left quickly. Peter also let go of his hand. "Good Peter, you always take advantage of me," Gwen said angrily. "What do you mean by always? Besides, I'm helping you. Okay? Help me?" Peter nodded. "Help you get rid of Dis's harassment?" "Gwen, do you think I'm a fool? I don't believe it." The relationship between the two is quite good. Although they often quarrel in daily life, it is more like a crazy joke between lovers. When they came to the classroom, at the moment was already full of people. This class is a student elective class, and the students of Midtown Science and Technology High School are still eager for knowledge. However, when the bell rang, it was not Otto Octavian who came. It was the principal, who was middle-aged and had a receding hairline. The principal looked very happy, as if he had won the lottery. "Dear students, Dr. Otto has canceled today's class because of something urgent." As soon as this was said, everyone was visibly disappointed. The principal changed the subject and continued with a surprised tone. "But there is another good news. Stark Industries, the famous businessman, Mr. Tony Stark, decided to invest in the construction of Midtown Science and Technology High School. $1 million will be given to the students with the best grades as a reward." As soon as this was said, everyone looked at Peter. Almost everyone in the high school knew that Peter had been the first in the school for 3 consecutive years. He also participated in the Mathematical Olympiad and won a good ranking for the school. "Peter, come up," the principal said excitedly. At the moment, Peter was already confused. He had never thought that this incident would happen. This? How could it be? Last night, he revealed his school just to make Tony apologize and put down his arrogance. Unexpectedly, the other party refused to apologize and gave him 1 million. This was not what Peter expected at all. "Come up, Peter," the principal said excitedly. Peter walked up to the podium in a daze. The principal continued, "Now, let's welcome Tony Stark," with the warmest applause. The students in the classroom were so excited that a round of applause broke out. Tony, wearing a casual suit, walked in from outside the classroom. Chapter 18. Is this youth? I'm so glad to see you. Tony Stark waved to the students in the classroom. But to be honest, he wasn't interested. If it weren't for the mafia, if it weren't for Peter, he wouldn't be here. I didn't believe that knowledge could change fate before, but now I do. Please keep working hard. Don't let Peter take the $1 million scholarship next year. After that, he took out a bank card from his pocket. He looked at Peter and patted his shoulder. You deserve it. I think we should go out and talk about, how you spend this scholarship. The people in the classroom showed different emotions. There was envy, regret, and jealousy. But how could they know that the money was originally reserved? Even if Peter was a bad student, the million would fall on his head in other names. Do you think this is a gift from God? Wrong. All the gifts of fate have already been secretly marked with a price. Among the many students, Gwen is undoubtedly the happiest one. She is really happy for Peter. As the daughter of the New York police commissioner, Gwen's family is naturally not short of money. George even thought about sponsoring Peter's schooling. But Gwen stopped him. She was mainly afraid that Peter would not be able to hold his head up in front of him in the future and would become inferior. Which boy would not care about face? Now, this million is in Peter's hands, which can greatly alleviate No, it is to completely solve the economic crisis of the Parker family. Dis was dumbfounded when he heard the news. Just now he said that his father was a wealthy man with an annual income of $500,000. As a result, in less than 5 minutes, Peter became a millionaire. This is unfair. Why? Now Dis can't compete with Peter at all. Originally, only the superior family background could suppress Peter. Now, he is completely useless in front of Peter. His grades are worse than Peter's, his looks are worse than Peter's, his physical fitness is not as good as Peter's, and now even his wealth is not as good as Peter's. Dis knew that he could no longer compete with Peter for Gwen. Unless, kill this guy. And Dis just happens to have this ability. He is from Gotham and knows a gangster boss, whom people call Penguin. When he was not the boss, Dis happened to help him. Now it is time for him to repay this favor. Dis has already made up his mind. He will take a bus to Gotham tomorrow night. At this moment, Peter and Tony are in another classroom. Mr. Stark, thank you very much. Peter said this quite sincerely. He has been trying to make more money, but he can't get much money from street criminals every day. This million solved all his urgent needs. With this money, Uncle Ben doesn't have to drive a taxi after get off work, and Aunt May doesn't have to cry because of customer complaints. Everything will be better. Sure enough, the only way to solve everything is to pay back the money. You young man, you are really good at pretending. Peter, what am I pretending? You must know that Mafia. After you left yesterday, he came to me, obviously to help you save face. Advertisement. It's amazing that you have contact with such people. I was shocked and thought that my true identity was discovered. Peter had made up his mind long ago that he would never reveal his true identity. Even if he became the Silver Superman one day, he would not reveal it. After all, the enemy could easily kidnap his family and friends and threaten him with their lives. After hearing what Tony said, Peter was no longer low-key. Okay, I do know him. I've known him for a while. Let me guess, did he say you were arrogant? Tony lost the desire to communicate for a moment. He said he was arrogant, but where was he arrogant? Just then, his cell phone rang. It was Obadiah who opened it. Tony answered the call. Hello, I'm not in the company right now. I have something important to discuss. I'll be back soon. After hanging up the phone, Tony patted Peter on the shoulder. Listen, Peter, don't let your mysterious friend come again. When he showed up yesterday, he almost gave me a heart attack. But you're welcome to visit Stark Industries anytime. We can exchange experiences in picking up girls. After that, Tony left directly. He drove back to the Stark Industries building. As soon as he entered the office, he saw Obadiah, who was bald and bearded. At the moment, Tony didn't know that this business partner of his father was the ironmonger who was going to kill him in the future. Obadiah smiled. Oh, Tony, I'm still out there dealing with business. You called me back so urgently. There must be something important, right? Tony threw a few photos directly on the table. The photos above were taken by Rod of the Rhino mech weapon disassembly. I've been feeling relieved with you for so many years, but what's going on? Why did the weapons I developed appear in places other than the military? Someone used weapons produced by Stark Industries and killed many people. I need an explanation. Chapter 19. I can explain. Obadiah had already thought of his explanation the moment he saw the photo. He knew Tony's bottom line clearly. In many moments in the past, he had mentioned intentionally or unintentionally selling weapons produced by Stark Industries to other places. In other words, only by expanding sales channels can more money be made. But Tony always refused. This made him dissatisfied, but it was not to the point of falling out. He sold arms to customers in the Middle East without Tony's knowledge. Sold to Osborne Company. Who would have thought that this matter would end so quickly? Tony, you know me. I am a friend of your parents. I am not just a business partner, but a real good friend. Your father died very early. I watched you grow up. I know your character. I have been with you longer than my son. I will not touch anything you don't want to do. Obadiah played the emotional card right from the start, first calming Tony's emotions, and then said, Stark Industries and Osborne have cooperated for many years and are business partners. Some time ago, people in their company wanted to study military industry. I didn't think much and gave them some. Such an inhumane thing happened, which was beyond my expectation. Tony, I promise you that such a thing will not happen again in the future. Tony Stark sighed and adjusted his emotions. Sorry, I was too excited. Now terminate the cooperation with Osborne Company. In the future, I will personally review every arms sale. Obadiah was stunned for a moment and waved his hands repeatedly. No, there's no need for that. We'll do it the same way as before. You'll be in charge of inventions, I'll be in charge of sales. We'll have a clear division of labor, and we'll strive to take the company to the next level. Tony poured himself a glass of red wine. Yes, it will be the same in the future, but I'll just have to look at the list. Don't think too much. I have a date tonight. Do you want to come along? I can introduce you to a female model with a nice figure, but whether you can seize the opportunity depends on you. I don't think it's a big problem. After all, you're the second in command of Stark Industries. Obadiah smiled bitterly. Forget it, forget it. Dating is the right of young people. I'm old and I don't have enough money. Okay then. Tony drank the wine in the glass and left the office. Bang. Obadiah punched the desk. Number 2. Tony, you forced me to do this. You obviously have the most talented mind, but you always have trouble with money. When your father died, I had the ability to let this company belong to me. Even now, I have this ability. Obadiah immediately made a phone call. Hello, it's me. I will let him visit the military area in a while. You must seize the opportunity and don't let him come back alive. At this moment, Queens, Ben Parker's house. Uncle Ben, who had just entered the door, took off his coat and looked at Peter on the sofa. Peter, what happened? Advertisement, if I take this half-day leave. I'm afraid I won't get the full attendance award this month. Peter smiled and said, then just quit your job. By the way, Uncle Ben, you haven't traveled with Aunt May for a long time, right? Just go on a trip. Uncle Ben looked at Peter with a confused look on his face, and then looked at May. Did this child take the wrong medicine? Aunt May shook her head. I don't know. It was like this when he came back. Peter asked the two to sit down, and then took out a bank card. What is this? My scholarship. Ben looked at Peter with relief. I'm so proud of you. Peter, you're really great. But this money belongs to you. Keep it. It will be just right for your college tuition in the future. Uncle Ben and Aunt May were very relieved, but they didn't take it too seriously. After all, in their impression, the school scholarships were not much money. Peter smiled bitterly. This money is enough for our family to live for a long time, and we don't have to work. I also promise that I can make more money before this money is spent. So Peter, how much money is in the card? 1 million. Oh, 1 million. What? How much did you say? Uncle Ben, who was always calm, became quite uncalm. He looked at Peter with a shocked face. Peter, how is this possible? Aunt May was terrified. She had never heard of a school giving students a scholarship of 1 million. Surprised, she was actually worried whether Peter had taken a detour. It's true. This is a special grant from Stark Industries to outstanding students, which is a kind of incentive. Ben immediately took out his phone. He still couldn't believe that there was such a good thing that fell from the sky. After calling the director of Midtown High School of Science and Technology, he finally believed what Peter said. But he still couldn't believe it. 1 million. How much money would that be? Ben sat next to Peter with a relieved and sincere expression on his face. I'm sorry, Peter. I shouldn't doubt you. But this is really unbelievable. Uncle Ben, you don't have to apologize. Instead of apologizing, think about more important things. What? Like how to spend this money. Chapter 20. That afternoon, Ben Parker took his wife to the bank. They paid off the mortgage that they had been carrying for more than 20 years. They also bought steaks that they usually couldn't afford to eat at the supermarket. The mood of the two old people can hardly be described in words. The moment they paid off the loan, they felt 10 years younger. Peter, I'm proud of him. Aunt May took Ben's arm and smiled on her charitable face. Uncle Ben nodded. Okay, we can't spend the rest of the money. We have already spent a lot of money to pay off the loan. The rest of the money can't be touched. Peter still needs money to go to college, which is probably a big expense, and he has to fall in love, and it's time to fall in love. If his love object is Gwen, we can't treat her badly. We have to buy a house in the future. Peter, who was still at home, had never thought that the two elders would consider so much. If he had known earlier, he should have spent a lot of money to buy all the messy things first. Uncle Ben and Aunt May are so frugal. At this time, there was a knock on the door. The person who came was Gwen. What are you doing? Peter was a little surprised. Gwen, with short golden hair, was holding a bunch of sunflowers and a large bucket of chocolate-flavored Haagen-Dazs. Congratulations on finally getting rid of the hard days. Gwen showed a bright and playful smile. As the only daughter of the director, even if Gwen wanted the stars in the sky, George would find a way to help her pick them. Her life can be said to be quite wealthy. She has a whole refrigerator of Haagen-Dazs ice cream that ordinary people can't afford. She usually doesn't give it to Peter, not because she is stingy, but because she is afraid that Peter will feel inferior with her. Gwen always takes care of Peter's emotions in some small things and details. Now, Peter is already a millionaire. She doesn't have to deliberately wear some cheap clothes. This flavor of ice cream is my favorite. Try it. Peter scooped a spoonful and put it in his mouth. Well, it tastes really good. You're so nice to me. Gwen smiled slightly and asked in a questioning tone, Do you say that to every girl? Peter quickly denied it. No, why would you ask that? Gwen snorted. Liar. Not long ago, she came here as Spider-Woman. Although she was applying medicine to her, she also had close contact. Before leaving, she couldn't help but kiss Peter. Peter never said these things. It feels really bad to cheat on yourself. Peter seemed to have noticed what Gwen was thinking, so he said, There is indeed something I forgot to tell you. Advertisement, you know Spider-Woman on TV news? We met some time ago. She was injured and I bandaged her. Ah, is she in good shape? Peter. Gwen, you really are. She should be fine. I was focusing on her wound at the time, so I didn't have time to pay attention to her figure. While the two were chatting, the news was being broadcast on TV, discussing about the Battle of the Rhino yesterday. This incident caused quite a panic, because Rhino died so tragically. There was hardly a piece of good meat on his body. His body was released without code, which made many people feel physically uncomfortable. Many people even began to sympathize with Rhino, saying that criminals should be punished by law and lynching should not be tolerated. The voices of this group of people were mostly the result of fueling the flames, but Peter didn't care. At the same time, the media also gave Peter a resounding name, called Punisher. Gwen watched the news about the Punisher on TV, watching it intently. Why, Gwen? You care about this Punisher? Don't you like him? Like? How is that possible? But I can't say I hate him. After all, he is also a good fighter against crime, but his methods are too extreme. Many times he doesn't have to kill people. I think the Batman who appeared in Gotham last year is very good. He never kills people and leaves everything to the police. Gwen really doesn't hate the Punisher, mainly because he killed Rhino, which is a disguised way of helping her get revenge. But she couldn't accept the other party's behavior. Too extreme, too violent. Compared with him, the New York police, who are known for their violence, are like a well-behaved elementary school student. Is that so? Peter nodded and said nothing more. One day Gwen will understand that she is right. Okay, I won't stay any longer. By the way, my father invited you to my house for dinner. Lemon Sea Base. Peter nodded. Of course, I have something to deal with now. What is it? I won't tell you. 5 minutes later, Peter changed into his combat uniform. 6 minutes later, Peter appeared in a luxurious villa 12 kilometers away. There was something that he thought more and more wrong. This morning, the opponent's baseball strength was clearly intended to kill him. If Peter was still that ordinary person, it is not impossible for him to become a vegetable after being hit in the head by that ball. So even if Dis is an ordinary person, even if the threat to Peter is small, he cannot be kept. No matter how small the threat is, it is still a threat. Only when it is resolved, it is safe. Chapter 21. At this moment, Dis was sitting in his bedroom. Because his parents were both businessmen, they were often on business trips, and he was the only one in the huge house. In the bedroom, Dis looked at the portrait of Gwen hanging on the wall with a gentle expression on his face. Ever since he saw Gwen for the first time, he fell deeply in love with this girl with short golden hair. So much so that he often visited Gwen's social accounts. Dis took out his mobile phone and clicked on Gwen's account again. His eyes changed from expectation to frustration and then to rage. He threw the phone on the floor angrily. The screen of the phone was broken. This was the third phone he had broken this month. A photo was displayed on the broken screen. Gwen and Peter leaned close together, holding a bucket of chocolate-flavored Haagen-Dazs ice cream together. This is not fair. This is not fair. Dis's eyes were about to burst into fire. Peter. Damn, Peter. Why does Gwen only have a special liking for you? Every time I walk by her, she doesn't even look at me. Dis held back his anger and picked up his phone. He immediately dialed a number. Soon the call was connected, and a thin man wearing a monocle appeared in it. His nose was quite sharp, and his appearance was very distinctive. At first glance, it was very funny. Hey, Dis, my friend, what do you want to talk to me about? Oswald, there is indeed something I need your help with. Because of a madman who condoned crime, The crime rate in Gotham has only increased, and the Penguin is the product of the City of Sin. His real name is Oswald Cabot. Because of his miserable childhood, he vowed to become the strongest man and the king above everyone else. But because of his physical defects, he suffered humiliation. In a gang fight, he was rescued by Dis's father. Now Oswald has become a well-known gang leader in Gotham. This is why Dis asked him for help. I like a girl, but that girl doesn't like me. Her heart is won by another man. Dis's eyes became more and more fierce. Oswald, I need you to help me kill him. As long as he dies, I will definitely get the girl's heart. If we have a wedding one day, I will invite you. After hearing this, the Penguin was silent for a second. Dis, my mother often told me that a woman will fall in love with a person in an instant, or she will never love him in this life, even if they usually share a bed. Oswald, Dis interrupted him. The tone was very tough. Oswald, it was my father who saved you. Without him, you would not be where you are today, so now it's time for you to repay. On the other side of the screen, although the Penguin was unhappy, he still nodded dangerously. Dis, my friend, I will repay this favor. Now tell me the name of that man. Dis's eyes lit up. Advertisement, his name is... Bang. With a thud, Dis's expression froze, and his head hit the computer desk. A large pool of blood flowed out, flowing onto the computer desk and onto the ground. Dis was dead and couldn't be deader. Peter put away the gun, and the system prompt sounded. You have punished the marked criminal and received 100 points. Heh, worthless thing. He had seen Dis's performance just now, and there was no psychological burden to kill him. He deserved to die. The Penguin on the other side of the screen was shocked. The person who was talking to him just now died alive at this moment. He was shocked. Who are you? You killed my friend. What? Oswald, you want to accompany him? Faced with the naked threat, the Penguin's anger was aroused. No matter what, he is a boss of the Gotham Underground organization. Being threatened by Peter like this, he naturally had to fight back. Fuck. You killed my friend. I will find you. I will sink you in the water and drown. Peter chuckled. You should be glad that I'm not in Gotham. The Penguin laughed in anger. Why? You want to come and kill me? Even Gordon can't do anything to me. Do you think you can touch me? I live in Gotham City, Villa 43 Kamlanka Street. There are 20 people guarding outside my house. Can you come and kill me? Hey, why don't you speak? After saying this, the Penguin found that there was no sound on the screen. He didn't seem to be satisfied with his scolding and slammed the table angrily. However, Dis's death made him feel relieved. He was a grateful person. Since he owed a favor, he had to pay it back. But Dis was dead, so he didn't need to go to New York. He hasn't even established a foothold in Gotham yet. If he goes to New York now, he might offend the local forces. The risk is too great. The Penguin hung up the phone. Suddenly a gust of air blew into the room. He subconsciously looked at the window, but the window was closed. Strange. Ahem. Just then a voice sounded. Penguin looked over, and his whole body felt his scalp tingling. Excuse me, are you looking for me? Penguin's eyes widened. Wong Defa. Chapter 22. The Penguin subconsciously began to look for a gun. This was an unthinking reaction. Life from childhood to adulthood told him that only with a weapon in hand could he ensure his safety. He suddenly grabbed the pistol and pointed it at Peter's head. You, who are you? What conspiracy did you play? Don't treat me as an idiot. You can't have come to Gotham from New York in an instant. Facing the black muzzle of the gun, Peter didn't care. I seem to be surprised to see you here. Didn't you ask me to come over on the phone just now? In Peter's eyes, ordinary people without super abilities or special abilities are not threatening at all. Even if the Penguin shoots, Peter has at least 3 ways to avoid it. The Penguin is doubtful. There are indeed super abilities in this world. Superman and Homelander are the best proof, but he doesn't believe that the guy in front of him, who is dressed like the mafia of the last century, also has super abilities. Hey, don't be so arrogant. This must be a scam. You have been lying in ambush in my house from the beginning. Tell me, what is your purpose? Peter snorted. Whatever you think, you just need to understand one thing. You will see your brains soon. The Penguin was furious. No one had dared to talk to him like this for a long time. Really? You seem to have forgotten one thing. I am the one holding the gun now. In the next second, I can blow your head off. Normally, Peter would not talk nonsense, but today he got $1 million, which made him in a good mood, and he even talked a lot more than usual. Peter walked in front of the Penguin. I'll make a bet with you that there is no bullet in your gun. The penguin, who felt his authority was offended many times, couldn't bear it anymore at this moment. He pulled the trigger hard at Peter's head. There was only a click. Nothing happened. The penguin seemed to be struck by lightning and swallowed nervously. How is this possible? I clearly remember that there were bullets in it. How could it be possible? This is unscientific. What? Are you dumbfounded? Peter said in a tough tone. He knocked the penguin to the ground with one punch. Can you be a gangster boss like this? You don't even know if there are bullets in your gun. What's the use of a gun in your hand? Answer me. Peter had taken out the magazine from the penguin's pistol when he entered the penguin's room just now, but because of the rabbit spell, the speed was too fast, so the penguin didn't notice it. Oswald fell to the ground. His pupils shrank into needles, and the whole person was almost unable to speak because of fear. But after all, he had experienced several death crises, so he quickly adjusted. If you want to live, you have to beg for mercy. He knelt directly in front of Peter. Sir, forgive me. I apologize to you. I'll lick your shoes. He crawled over and was about to stick out his tongue. Peter kicked him away. Now he finally understood how cool it was for Yin Shuanging to show off. At this moment, Peter has lost his patience. Advertisement, convict Oswald of. The word guilty has not been spoken yet. The system's voice sounded first. Side quest arts can be rejected. Villain superheroes can also have their own forces and form their own teams. Complete the mission and get special rewards. Villain superheroes are walking between light and darkness, and it is a bit redundant to form their own forces. Reject the mission and get special rewards. Peter, there are benefits on both sides, right? The penguin is still begging for mercy. Sir, you can do whatever you want. I still have a mother to support. Please let me go. Peter looked at the penguin. It's not impossible to leave your life, but you have to work for me. The penguin was overjoyed and knelt on the ground to thank Peter crazily. Normally I won't look for you. You still have the final say in your gang. 2 requirements. First, how you fight the gang is your own business. You can't hurt civilians. The penguin nodded repeatedly. I don't usually hurt civilians. Peter continued. Second, always pay attention to Gotham's every move. Report to me once a month, and I will come to you when the time comes. The penguin quickly agreed. Don't worry, sir. I will never let you down. Peter hummed and threw a few bullets to the penguin. Oswald, load the bullets now and shoot at my head. What? The penguin doubted his ears. You heard it right. Do what I said. The penguin neatly loaded the bullets into the magazine and then loaded it. As a gangster boss in Gotham, he didn't want to be controlled by others. This is what you said. You are looking for death. It has nothing to do with me. Go to hell. He shouted in his heart and then pulled the trigger. Ka, ka, ka. Continuously pulling the trigger, but not even a bullet was fired. The passive skill of the bulletproof head takes effect. The penguin was completely dumbfounded. If he was still a little dissatisfied just now, he was terrified now. This man is so scary. All thoughts of resistance disappeared in this moment. When he reacted and wanted to compliment Peter, he was the only one left in the room. Scary. This man is the scariest person I have ever seen. The penguin's head was already oozing with sweat. He sat down on the ground in despair. Chapter 23. Oswald the penguin sat on the ground, feeling terrified. The man wearing a coat and a mask, who looked like a member of the mafia from the last century, was definitely the most terrifying guy he had ever seen. Pistols and bullets were useless to him, and what was the matter with this weird speed? He disappeared in an instant. The dozen or so brothers outside couldn't find him at all. The penguin was completely desperate, and the more he thought about it, the more scared he became. This means that the other party can come to him at any time and kill him easily. When an enemy who is equally matched with you is temporarily in the upper hand, what you have to do is to surrender, and you may win by striking back. But when your opponent is a person who can destroy everything without any effort, what you have to do is to bow your head, even if you are a little flattering. The most important thing is to survive. At this moment, in the heart of the penguin, Peter is such a terrifying existence. In comparison, Batman, the emerging hero in Gotham, is simply Angel. At least you can survive if you are caught by him. It's only a matter of time before he is sent to prison and released. The calmed penguin couldn't help but feel annoyed. Damnedest, it's all because of you. Otherwise, how could I have provoked such a scary guy? At this moment, Peter's voice rang in the room. Who are you calling scary? The penguin shuddered as if he was stressed. In the blink of an eye, he saw Peter, who had returned. "Sir, why are you back again?" Peter chuckled. "I just released you, and now I regret it." As soon as these words came out, the stone in the penguin's heart floated up again. Dense sweat soaked his head again. He knew that if the other party wanted to kill him, he had no ability to resist. Even if he could survive today, what should he do tomorrow? Haha, don't be nervous. I'm just joking. Huh. The corner of the penguin's mouth twitched. This joke was not funny at all. He wiped the sweat from his head and forced a smile. He laughed dryly. "You are such a humorous person." Peter's voice became serious, and he patted Penguin on the shoulder. "Oswald, I know you. You are not to blame for your childhood misfortune. You have no choice but to take this path today. But it's different now. You can get everything you want by working for me. When necessary, you can ask me for help when you encounter problems that you can't solve. However, it's best not to do this unless necessary. My time is precious." Peter, who is well versed in the art of drawing cakes, said these words quite fluently. No matter whether it can be realized in the future, it is definitely right to draw the cake today. Advertisement: this is also a necessary means to increase Oswald's loyalty to himself. Deterrence alone is not enough. You must give some sweetness to make others willing to work for you. Don't ask him why he knows so much. Just ask that he met such a boss in his previous life. People, after all, live like what they hate. Penguin was deeply moved when he heard Peter's words. People with a lot of suffering in their hearts need so much care and love to fill him up. The answer is, a little bit. Penguin couldn't control his emotions for a moment and had an impulse to cry. He felt that the person in front of him didn't seem so scary. On the contrary, he should be a good person. He had offended him before, but he not only didn't kill him, but also accepted him as his younger brother. He had already left, but he came back to say this to me. He is really a good person. If it were me, if I had such a strong power, I would probably not be so tolerant to others. Penguin took a deep breath and said to Peter seriously, "Sir, I, Oswald, will be your man from now on, at your disposal." This speech, like a knight's oath, showed his sincerity. Peter suddenly doubted himself. No, are you pretending? Or do I really have the ability to fool people? Does Oswald have Stockholm Syndrome? It's outrageous. Peter smiled and continued, "Work hard, with my protection. No one will bully you in the future. Unfortunately, I'm a little injured now. When I recover." He didn't continue, leaving Penguin with endless room for imagination. Penguin swallowed his saliva. His eyes flashed. "Could it be that you are more powerful than Superman?" Peter said lightly. "Superman? It's nothing great, Oswald. Open your horizons. If you only have this kind of knowledge, it will be difficult to entrust you with important tasks in the future." Penguin felt dizzy. In his worldview, Superman is undoubtedly the strongest existence. Could it be that the gentleman in front of him is more powerful than Superman? Yes, it's very possible. Superman will not be hurt if the bullet hits him, but the gentleman in front of him, the bullet can't hit him at all. So, he may be more powerful than Superman. What luck did I have today? I actually met such a big shot. Penguin suddenly felt that the future was bright. Chapter 24. Your loyalty will bring you huge amounts of benefits in the future. Peter was about to leave after he finished speaking. He glanced and accidentally saw a gift box. "Oswald, what is this?" "This is a locally brewed red wine, which is a few years old. I am going to give it to someone." Peter picked up the red wine gift box. "This is your meeting gift. If there is nothing else, I will leave first." The penguin nodded quickly. "It is my honor, sir." Peter disappeared in the next second, and a few minutes later Peter appeared at his home in Queens, New York. Uncle Ben and Aunt May had returned from outside at this moment. Originally, the family of three planned to have a sumptuous steak together, but George just came over and invited him again, so the dinner tonight will be at their house. Peter changed his clothes and was about to leave with the red wine gift box. The system prompt sounded in his ears. Complete the side quest. Get a special reward. You can choose one of the following 4 options. Strength strengthening, permanent. Endurance strengthening, permanent. Rabbit spell usage rights are upgraded and will be permanently upgraded in 3 months. Gumfruit, attention. Choose the gumfruit. Based on the setting, you will not be afraid of the seawater. Unlock the hidden achievement, Oswald's loyalty. A person's misfortune stems from his childhood. Penguin is undoubtedly a demon who kills without blinking an eye, but you conquered him with your personal charm. Get reward, bull spell. Ox spell usage rights, 3 months. The bull spell can increase your endurance and strength exponentially. Even an ant with no power can become an elephant. Long-term task, collection of zodiac signs. I have nothing missing, 2/12. Peter's eyes flashed. He didn't expect the reward this time to be so generous. First of all, he ruled out strength strengthening and endurance strengthening. Just before going to Gotham, he bought these 2 strengthening potions in the Points Mall. Otherwise, even if he had the rabbit spell, he couldn't run to Gotham in one breath. But now there is the Bull Talisman, which will give the holder constant power. Although it can only be used for 3 months, it is enough. Peter is confident that within 3 months, he can accumulate 200,000 points and redeem the Homelander template. As for the rubber fruit, the user's body toughness increases, the arm can be stretched several meters, and even if it is hit by a bullet, it can bounce back. And there is no sea stone in this world, and there is almost nothing that can restrain the devil fruit except seawater. But I always feel that this thing is not cost-effective. At this stage, the rabbit talisman is Peter's biggest help. Maybe if you miss this opportunity, you will never be able to get a permanent one. Advertisement, and Peter has a vague feeling that Homelander is very fast, and the speed of the rabbit talisman is also very fast. Homelander uses the rabbit talisman. Maybe there will be a 1+1 effect. I choose the rabbit talisman, permanent. The next second, the rabbit talisman hanging on someone else's neck disappeared and turned into dots of white light flowing into his body. Now he can use the rabbit talisman more easily. The bull talisman inexplicably appeared in Peter's hand. After getting his mood in order, Peter prepared to go to Gwen's house next door for dinner. The system prompt sounded again without warning. The popularity section is open. You have won the recognition of the public from unknown to famous. The name of the Punisher is the proof of your success. Get 5,000 bonus points. Your accumulated points are 21,350. Please keep working hard. What an unexpected gain. The reason why Peter was so cowardly before was entirely because he felt that with his current strength, he didn't have the capital to waste. From the experience of playing games, once you waste, it's easy to lose. But now, it seems that some large criminal groups can also be targeted. For example, Kingpin. Punishing the criminals under his command will definitely get a lot of points. Forget it, let's talk about the future later. Peter washed his face and went downstairs to knock on the door of his neighbor Gwen's house. Hey Peter, you're late. Gwen had obviously been waiting at the door for a long time. Otherwise, she wouldn't have opened the door the moment it was knocked. Peter shook the red wine in his hand. Gotham specialty. I just wanted Gotham. Gwen, let Peter in. Get ready for dinner. Gwen's mother shouted at the door in the restaurant. I'm here. At this moment, George was complaining to Uncle Ben. Now the pressure from above is very high. Not only do we have to punish the guys who violate the law and make trouble, but we also have to catch the Punisher and Spider-Woman. God, how come New York suddenly has these 2 difficult guys? Ben, you don't know what kind of pressure I'm under now. While talking, they saw Peter and Gwen, and tacitly ended the topic. Sit down quickly. George smiled and said to Ben, you really have a good nephew. Just relying on excellent grades, he has obtained wealth that many people can't get in their lifetime. You are a great hero tonight. Chapter 25. As the chief of the police station, George has much more experience and knowledge than ordinary people. He saw early on that Peter would be very successful in the future, which is why he did not object to Peter and Gwen getting close. But he never expected that this kid could actually get $1 million in high school with excellent grades. Peter smiled slightly, and his attention was all on the things in front of him. A steamed sea bass, with a lemon on the fish head and a small piece of bread on the side. Oh my God! Who is your delicacy? The degree of viciousness is second only to the 9-turn large intestine. Isn't the fish stewed in an iron pot delicious? George fell into sorrow again after a brief joy. Recently, he has been tortured by the Punisher and Spider-Woman. These 2 guys are simply demons. It would be great if all young people wanted to be like Peter and Gwen. To be fair, if George was an ordinary person, she would not hate the Punisher and Spider-Woman. It's just that the butt determines the head. He is the chief of the New York Police Department, and someone above is constantly putting pressure on him. I really hope that Punisher and Spider-Woman go to other cities to do some activities. Such self-righteous guys shouldn't exist in the world. Every time Gwen heard George say this, she would always look a little disappointed. As the daughter of the police chief, he just hopes that his father can work less hard. If she catches one more person, her father will have less hardship. Gwen's expression is very subtle, but it can't escape Peter's eyes. He exhaled and said, Uncle George, although their appearance is not in line with the law, It cannot be denied that the crime rate in New York has dropped a lot now. Before criminals do bad things, they should consider whether there will be a gun on their heads later. George looked at Peter in surprise. For a long time in the past, he had always expected Peter to become a policeman. After all, he is the chief. If Peter chooses this path, he can provide him with huge amounts of help. So George often talks about these topics with Peter, but Peter has never been interested. What happened today? George shook his head. No, Peter, you don't understand the situation here. That Punisher, he's too crazy. His methods are simply outrageous. Just yesterday, he tortured the Rhino to death in front of me. Too extreme. If he was more gentle, like Batman, there would be less controversy in public opinion. Like Batman? Peter shook his head and did not argue with George about this matter. Then, Uncle George, what is your attitude toward Spider-Woman? She is gentle and will not execute criminals. At most, she will hang the criminals with cobwebs. Perhaps the New York police can consider cooperating with Spider-Woman. After all, it is better to let super-ability people deal with those super-ability criminals. Advertisement, just like the Rhino. The police can't hurt him even if they empty the magazine. Only super-ability people can deal with super-ability people. Peter's words made George silent. He really didn't think about the police cooperating with super-ability people. However, he really didn't like this guy who despised the law. Peter, you seem to be optimistic about Spider-Woman? I'm her fan, Peter answered without hesitation. Hearing this, Gwen could no longer control her smile. Dinner was over. Peter and Gwen were chatting on the rooftop. The lights of New York were bright at night. In some relatively safe areas, there were a lot of cars and people on the road. The joyful atmosphere brought vitality to the city. Unfortunately, there were not many such safe areas. Ha ha ha, Peter, I have never seen my father look embarrassed. By the way, do you like Spider-Woman so much? If I say I like you, will you be unhappy? After all, it is a taboo to praise another girl in front of a girl. Don't worry, Peter, I'm not jealous. I'm also her fan. Gwen was extremely excited at the moment. Who is she? She is Spider-Woman. Peter boldly admitted that he liked Spider-Woman. Didn't he just admit that he liked her? It really made her happy and her legs trembled. Peter turned around and looked at Gwen. They were so close that their breaths could spray on each other's faces. Looking at the blonde girl in front of him, she became visibly tired after becoming a superhero. This made him feel distressed. Gwen, I think there is nothing wrong with helping others. If everyone can help others, then everyone will live in a happy society. But the premise of helping others is to live a good life. If a person lives in poverty, then he doesn't need to do charity. Peter. Gwen looked into Peter's eyes and chewed his words over and over in her heart. It felt like Peter seemed to have the ability to see through people's hearts. The life of a superhero really made her feel tired. Too tired. The schoolwork was heavy, and she would take the college entrance examination next year. She had to be a superhero every night. It was really hard. Although she was smart, she was much inferior to Peter. For example, the web shooters, she couldn't figure it out no matter how hard she tried. Perhaps because the moonlight is so beautiful, the cold wind at night makes the temperature between the two people continue to rise. Before putting it on the shelves, I would like to ask for free data. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. You can find the next videos in the playlist linked in the info card, directly on my channel, or right here on the screen. And as always, if you have any feedback, feel free to share it in the comments too.